Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Talk episode 92. Today, we have the whole squad of four of us here, and we have a packed episode. We have a lot to go through today. A ton of movie releases, a lot of pretty big news as well. We're going to be talking about Hitman, Richard Linklater's latest film that is now dropped on Netflix for everyone to watch worldwide. And as a result of that, we'll be doing a Richard Linklater filmography run through, kind of go chronologically through his filmography. We've all watched different films of his. We've all watched around 10 plus of his movies, and we'll kind of talk through those. Then we'll also be reviewing the new Bad Boys movie, Bad Boys 4, or Bad Boys Ride or Die. And we'll be ranking the franchise, the four movies we have out of the Bad Boys franchise from worst to best. Then we'll be reviewing Ishana Night Shyamalan's debut in The Watchers. And then we're also going to do a special little draft relating to a big announcement from Cam. So that should be fun. We'll do that kind of towards the beginning of the episode to set the tone in case, Cam has to drop off a little early. But as always, our executive producers, Sean Morales, Stefan Johnson, Stefan Niebrick, shout out to all of you guys for being absolute kings each and every week and supporting us and helping us make this podcast each and every week. We love doing it, but we couldn't be doing it without our awesome patrons. So if you want to join the Patreon, check out the link in the description down below. Join our Discord, join all the awesome perks as well. With that, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Cam, we're going to start with you. How you been doing this week? And then after you tell us how you've been doing this week, we'll jump right into the draft that we were planning to do this week. This should be fun.
I'm doing well. Yeah, big news of the week. Like I know I think people knew like we were having another kid, but found out we're having a daughter this week. So that's very exciting. One of each, and we can be done. So that's good. Very excited.
Is that actually the plan? You're done now?
Oh, we're done. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I will. If we had a boy, there was maybe some card. We were always only wanted two. So if we had a boy, there was maybe cards on the table to go for a girl. But no, it's over. It's over. Which, I say that now, and then we'll see how life goes.
You guys are gonna be the cool type of parents that are gonna be like 45, but your kid's already out of the house. You're gonna have you're gonna be going on vacations and every other parent's like, how are you doing all this stuff in your free time? My kids are in like third grade, and you're like, no, we're already set. We're done.
Yeah, very, very excited for that. Right now, it's difficult, but very excited for that for sure. Definitely going to be younger parents, which will be nice. Other than that, nothing going on this week. And Tyler alluded to it. I'm going to a grad party later, so I most definitely will be hopping off this call in about an hour and 30 minutes. So sorry, folks, but if you hate me, you're welcome, folks. Yeah, I don't have anything to talk about this week. Otherwise, I just have a question. So my family and I went to dinner the other day, and so my mom ordered something. It was like a chicken salad, it was a steak salad, but not filet, something like that. So we all order whatever. They go back and 10-15 minutes later come back and tell my mom oh, we don't have the steak. Is there anything else we can get you? And then they're like, or we could do the filet for the upcharge because the filet is more expensive. Do you think if you don't have the ingredient and you're not told about it, you should get the upgraded thing for free? That's the inconvenient fee
for free, or at the very least,
not for free.
Price of the or whatever.
At the price of yes, sorry, not for the upcharge though.
Yeah, I guess so.
I was wondering because we were sitting there and we're like, I feel like she the waitress who it wasn't her fault. She didn't know they didn't have whatever steak they were using originally on the salad. She made it very clear that it would be for the upcharge. And so we were sitting there and discussing, and it was a kind of nice place. So I was like, I feel like you should get that as the courtesy of not having this ingredient. But maybe that's just my thoughts. So chat, let me know on that one if you think you should have to pay that upcharge or get it for the same price. That was my only question of the week. But yeah, having a kid. So you guys feel free to draft baby names.
Yeah, as a result, and there's no voting winner on this. The winner is just gonna be Cam's gonna just judge the draft when it's over. Of our collection of 5, Cam will get to choose the winner.
I love it.
And of course, whoever it gets picked as the winner, he has to pick one of the 5 names as the name. We agreed to this before.
I'll see what I can do.
We started. But Seth, you get the first pick in the draft, drafting Cam's baby names.
So I have to go first. I'll be honest, I didn't prepare for this.
I didn't prep either, but this is gonna be a fun little silly draft.
I can't even Yeah, but
There's
I
an
can't
obvious
even
first
think.
pick.
Is there?
There is an obvious first pick.
There's an obvious first pick.
I honestly don't know. Maybe I kind of know, but
George,
I know
you go
exactly
first.
what
Can we
George
switch
is
places?
I can go first.
yeah, we'll switch places.
Okay, you go first. You go first. You go first.
All right. I mean, the obvious first pick is obviously George, without a doubt.
No, that's not what I was thinking. I like the pick. I kind of
That's-
like the pick.
Yeah, that's the obvious first pick. I can't imagine a world where you
Couldn't
don't
you go
name your second
Georgia?
child George. Like I'm the second child.
Georgina.
I'm
Yeah.
George. This is
I
your
like
second
it.
child.
No,
Thank
I
you.
like it. I appreciate it.
All
Tyler.
right.
Well, well, I'm scrambling now because my first pick was taken. I was going George.
It's terrible.
I mean, I kind of thought you were going to pick this, so I'll just go with it. And it has to be both. It can't just be one of them. It's Imperator Furiosa.
Yeah, that's what I thought was the obvious
Yeah.
first pick.
Imperator
Furiosa's-
Furiosa.
I mean,
Walsh.
not like is a name I considered for sure.
I mean, over George.
It's still on the short list for Cam. Is what he
Still
told
on
me.
the short list.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it, to be fair.
Seth. Now it's
You
your
really
turn.
don't have to think about this too much, Seth.
All right,
You
go.
can throw out anything. You can throw out anything. I won't be mad.
All right, go. Barry Lyndon, and it has to be hyphenated.
That one was on the short list for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
nice. I appreciate
Better name than George.
Oh,
Is
whoa,
it?
Come on,
Is it real?
chill out.
And
That's crazy.
then- Let me see this shit.
Do you just go
Let
on
me
all
give
your favorite movies?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I'm doing
Like
too.
I like
Give
it.
me like a pretty cool one. All right, we'll go Arwen from Lord of the Rings. That's a cool name. Arwen.
That's a
Or
good
the,
name.
or the
Cool.
janitor from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Nice. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know how to spell
That's a
Arwen.
good
Hopefully
pull.
that's right. But
It's an E instead of Y, I think. That's by it.
Arwen.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, back to me. Let's see. I mean, Cam's a big Star Wars guy, so we got to get something from that universe. But
Yeah.
which name? There's so many names to choose from here.
I feel like we don't.
No, I think we
did
do.
Consider Luke at one point.
We do.
You know,
No, we're gonna go first name Skywalker. Skywalker Walsh should be
go
kind of
hard.
hard.
That would kind of go hard. You're not wrong. about
Kind of
that.
hard.
I love that, honestly.
Skywalker Wall.
It's kind of a
I
cool
mean,
name.
Imagine
That's a good one. I like
Kinda
that one.
cool
That's
name,
funny.
Kind of cool.
That was funny.
George, you get back to backs.
All right, I get back to backs. I'm gonna go with my second pick. Let's go with Stilgar. Stilgar
Nice.
Walsh.
Yeah, that's a good one. I kind of love Stilgar.
I think that would be funny.
Is one L.
And then I think with my with my third pick, I'm going with Lisan Al Gaib.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to give you that one.
You,
No, that's
no, you
perfect.
can't take
That's-
as Cams.
That's the best pick.
Lisa for short.
Yeah, Lisa for short. Lisa Walsh. Lisan Al Gaib Walsh. That's all the first name, by the way. Al Gaib is not a middle name.
Yeah, I get it. That's cool. That's cool. That's
Hmm.
good.
All right, where do I go from here?
Gaib Walsh. Skywalker Walsh still killed me.
I'm trying to keep going with movies that Cam is a big fan of because I feel like that's more likely to make the cut. Yeah, we'll go. Cam, big Pixar guy. We'll go Wally Walsh.
I don't like Wally though. I like the alliteration, I guess, but Wally's kind of.
You
Wally
don't like
Walsh.
Wally?
I like Wally.
Is this going to be a Cam thing
No,
again?
it very much is. Like, I think it's a good
Okay.
movie. I just didn't love it as a kid, so it doesn't have like the
Okay.
nostalgia factor for me. I still think it's good.
A WW would be so fucked though, because then your kid is at the end of the line,
yeah,
no
you're
matter
screwed.
what,
Yeah,
whether it's
I-
first or last name.
Yeah, as a
Yeah,
Walsh,
that's true.
it's stunk being at the last.
Oh, I feel that as a Whitmore. I'd be even behind you.
Yeah,
with the
that's fair.
WH. But they at least with a WW, they could watch Breaking Bad, and then when the final revealed,
Yeah,
Hank sees
could
the
be that.
WW initial, they could do the Leo snap and be like, "Am I?"
That's
Heisenberg?"
me. That's me.
All right, Seth with back to backs.
I'm gonna give a. I'm gonna say this is a cool Coraline. I actually quite like that name. I think that's a cool
I
name.
hate Coraline.
Good name. It's a good
I
name.
don't.
Cool
I
name.
don't like that movie because it scares the shit out of me. But
It's a cool name. It's a cool
it's not a
name.
bad, not a bad name.
Compared to Barry Lyndon, I think that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And then I don't remember who this character is, but I'll go with Mon Mothma from Return
Nice.
of the Jedi. Mon Mothma.
Who?
Mon Mothma Walsh.
Is that
Two
anywhere
words,
near?
two words. She's in a lot of things, George. Actually, she's in Andor.
Yeah, I do remember who this is actually.
Why?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's
Played
slipping my
by-
mind.
She's got like the
I forget who
Karen
she's played
haircut,
by
I guess.
now. I forget who she's played by now. I gotta. Genevieve O'Reilly. Yeah,
you'll know
She's
it
in-
is. She's in
she's in a
Return of the
lot
Jedi. Yeah.
she's a big character in the newer stuff too.
Well, I tried to go for the WW and it was a swing and a miss. Wally was a swing and a miss. So we're gonna try and run it back with another WW, see if we can get back on the right side of history. Let's see. There's two options in between. I'm gonna go WandaVision Walsh. WandaVision.
Oh,
I
You just
love
go
that.
one-
I
you just
kind
go
of
one.
No,
love
because
that.
Wanda Walsh is just a little too bland for this draft. I was like WandaVision Walsh, but then I was
kinda
like maybe I
love
just go Wanda because it could either be Wanda from WandaVision or it could be Cosmo and Wanda if you're a big Fairly Odd Parents guy. But we'll go WandaVision Walsh.
Damn. I was about to pick something from the MCU, but now I don't want to go back to back.
There's more MCU I have looking at my screen that I'm thinking of getting to for my final.
There's a ton. All right, I'll stick with the MCU, I guess. And no, I don't want to do that. I'm so locked in because I want to win and I want Cam to name his baby George. All right, I'll go with Gamora Walsh. We'll
Nice.
start there.
That's good.
Like
That's
That's a
good.
good name. That's a good
I think
name.
that's that's fine.
Mhm.
That's
Great
fine.
pick.
And then hold on, I have a good one. I got to get the proper name. Hold on. Hold the phone.
I am holding
My least favorite part of Letterboxd is if you misspell
by like
title.
a letter. It's like
nothing. Yeah, nothing
So
comes
annoying.
up. Okay,
So
I'm gonna go with T1000 Walsh
Nice.
from
Nice.
Terminator 2.
Definitely considered for sure.
It's an Elon Musk type name, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ex Archangel.
Okay. I'm between a couple, and it's my final pick. I'll just go back. We'll try to get another WW to stick. We'll stick with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We'll go Wolverine Walsh.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good
Wolverine.
WWE. That's a better WWE. That's your best one. I
Wolvie
like
for
it.
short.
Wolvie. Yeah.
Wolvie.
Possibly considered.
Okay.
Seth, round us out.
All right. I'm gonna go, and you have to take the Mister in Mr. Bean.
my
Mr.
head.
Bean.
You lost.
He lost the draft.
You
man.
lost. Yeah.
Damn.
Right there, you lost.
In
We
true
don't want
Cam
to-
fashion, he sold his draft in the fifth pick.
That's okay. That's okay.
We
I like
we
it.
do not want this kid to be beat up at school.
Mr. Bean Walsh. Or take
Tyler,
Mrs. Bean if you want. You know, that's fine. I'll take
I think through the first round, like Tyler had the clear win with Furiosa. But then at one point, George got Lisan Al Gaib, and that it would feel like ignorant of me to not pick that. And the WWWs, I don't know if I love. But I think Tyler still takes this one.
Wow, no
Skywalker,
go for my good
Skywalker
names?
Walsh would just be like kind of the most goated name. I feel like if I
if
could
you
name
were
myself
to
that.
if you were to rank all 15 names, where would you rank George?
Like it'd be a solid 6, maybe
I'll take
5,
that.
maybe top
I'll
5.
take that.
Honestly, Lisan
I will
Al
take
Gaib would be 1, Skywalker 2.
Where's the love for my good names? There's
You should
two
take a
in-
picture.
Coraline would be like top 3 just for like a genuinely like real name.
good name, like a real
Yeah.
life name.
And
You should
then
text this
Mon Mothma
picture to Emma and see what she would say. Like, be
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
of these 15, what
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
would be our
picking?
favorite.
Yeah. Can you rank all
Hey, just
15?
tell her to
I'll
give
send it
like
to
a,
her right now.
a top 5 if she had to. Out of all
Yeah,
the
or
names.
top
Okay.
3 or something. Because I feel like
Yeah.
Coraline is like a obvious, like that would make it because it's like the most like normal name. So we need like a top 3 because I need some of the weird names to see what her favorite like weird name
Yeah.
would be.
Don't ask Emma for like a bottom 5 because I fear George will be somewhere in there.
It can't be lower than Mr. Bean because George, you could
Hey! Yeah, I really don't know if it is. I think
it's fine. Take off the Mister then. Just Bean.
Let's go. Now you're on to something. You're on to something. I like that.
Yeah,
but I think Tyler takes this win. Yeah. I told Emma to rank him, so I'll let you know what the answer is. I like WandaVision more, so it's not a bad name by any means. Mm-hmm. It's not great. We do have a name picked out. I don't know if I'll reveal it yet.
Great. So we did all the effort for nothing.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. Sorry, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the draft, though. That was fun.
Big shame. Yeah. Fun little way to kick off our episode, but we'll kind of get back on track with things as normal. Seth, how has your week been? Saw Mamma Mia, right?
I did. I saw Mamma Mia stage show. Shit kind of slapped. I can't lie. Like I actually like really enjoyed it. I saw Spirited Away. Yeah, I saw Spirited Away. George, you would like be in heaven watching it. It's crazy. So it's all like, obviously, it's all practical work, isn't it? And so okay, George, you know the scene with No Face where he gets like bigger and bigger and he eats more and more. Mm-hmm. It's like it ends up with like, so it starts with just a guy in like a costume, whatever. It ends up being like 10 guys stacked on top of each other with like this practical mouth and shit. Craziest fucking shit ever. It was amazing.
That's cool.
Really nice...
all these like cool stage opportunities in London. Like the fuck?
What do you mean opportunities, bro? I just bought them. I didn't get things.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like the opportunity to go. Like the only thing we have going on Broadway right now is Back to the Future. That I'm aware of.
Is Daniel Radcliffe is literally on Broadway right now, and so is Tom Holland.
Yeah, is Brokeback Mountain? No, Tom Holland's here.
Tom Holland's in London, but he's also doing Romeo and Juliet. He's not doing like a movie stage play. Like imagine
doing Spider-Man on stage. That's wild.
Oh yeah. What was it called? Turn Off the Dark or something. The Spider-Man Broadway show they did a couple years ago.
Wait, they actually did a Spider-Man one.
Yeah. They did. Like dude was swinging around. I didn't go, but yeah, I saw videos. But like, imagine how sick like Pacific Rim would be on stage.
Pacific Rim. Are they not doing thingy, George? Brokeback Mountain. Are they not doing Brokeback Mountain?
The only current like movie to stage that I'm aware of is Back to the Future. Which you guys also got first. Victoria and I saw it in London before it came to New York.
We've had it a while. Apparently, it's not that good, Although Anthony went to see it when he was here. Great. Anthony went to see it, and he really liked it when he was here.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot.
Oh, you've been?
When I came to London, I saw it literally the day after I saw it.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Being in Indiana, obviously, we don't get any stage things, but. On September, I think it's like 14th or somewhere around there, we're getting at Purdue. So at the alma mater, we're getting the live or not live action, but the Across the Spider-Verse with the live band.
The orchestra thing. That's kind of crazy.
The orchestra. I'm in a wedding that day.
That's cool.
They're doing that here soon as well.
Actually. Shout out my best friend Etch, but yeah, I'm depressed.
All my homies hate Etch right now.
Yeah, they're doing that here soon. Like, I don't want to go and see it because they did like Indiana Jones here.
I sent it to my buddy, and I was like, my good friend who's also going to the wedding. I'm like, we got to go to this thing, and he's like, do you know the date? And I'm like, I completely forgot. That's a bummer. And so, yeah. Unfortunate, but it.
Fair enough. And it's lost it. And it was good. Good a couple of days in London with the mother and Anna. Just going to school plays and stuff. That was cool. Also got tickets for the UFC event in Manchester. Bro, let me tell you right now, I was trying for like a day. Like it was the craziest shit ever. So it's like the biggest card. I told you this, Tyler. It's the biggest card in England ever by far. It's like the biggest one. And I was constantly complaining on Twitter about the prices because the prices are just fucking ridiculous, man. But eventually got tickets. Really just incredibly excited about that. Going with Josh. Shout out Josh. One of our patrons, by the way, who lives in Manchester. Going with him. So looking forward to it. That's really, really cool. And apart from that, I'm going to see House of Dragon tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh, season 2, episode 1.
Yeah.
Are they showing you 1 and 2 or just 1?
So, well, I think that. So it's the premiere. I think it'd be 1 because 1's like an hour and 10, I think, ish. Because when I went to The Last of Us 1, I thought, they might show us 2. But then if you remember, the first Last of Us episode was like an hour and 20 minutes. And I was like, So I think they'll only show us 1, which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, I'm going to see that tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to it. I've heard really good things.
We all watch Have we all watched House of the Dragon?
I don't know if Cam did. I know we did. Cam did?
Yeah.
Okay, Cam did. Yeah,
I honestly don't remember a lick of anything. I'm gonna have to rewatch season 1.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch like the last like 3 episodes, maybe.
I've heard good things about the first 2 episodes of season 2 anyway. Unsurprisingly,
coming out like
it's 16.
No, it's next. Correct me if I'm wrong. Besides like our X-Men episode, was The Last of Us the only like true like in-depth TV show review we've ever done?
I think
so. Yeah, I think so.
Like we've obviously talked about like The Boys and shit.
No,
but like,
I think we did the House of the Dragon.
Did we?
No, we did. No, we didn't because that wasn't even.
It won the ReelTok award for best TV.
Maybe we did.
But I don't remember.
Dragon would have ended like October, maybe earlier.
No, we had a podcast during House of the Dragon. We definitely
not when it started though.
Yeah, I don't know if we started. I think the season started before ReelTok started, but I know it overlapped.
Did we do an episode? Maybe we spoke about it. We definitely went in more detail with The Last of Us. We did like an episode.
Yeah.
We did.
I guess
we've been doing this pod for so long.
Yeah, we're old. That clip I posted on Twitter.
That clip was crazy.
We'll be covering. For anyone listening, I haven't been asked, but we'll be covering House of the Dragon every week. So I'm assuming all of us will probably watch it anyway. Because like this is the one show a year where we're all of us are actually excited for it. So yeah, we'll be covering that absolutely. Really looking forward to it.
George, how's your week been? I know we've been chatting most mornings about the French Open.
Yeah, it's just a lot of tennis.
Is that what it's called?
The French Open? Yeah. It's technically called Roland Garros.
Oh, I thought
I
said the French Jopen. I was really confused.
No, the French Open. The worst tennis match of the year. Can't stand France. France is an opera to me. Yeah. Weather looks dreadful in France.
Dude, are you
chill.
The wind is going crazy. Like clay is up in Zverev's face right now. So that's why I'm on the couch.
Where is it? Whereabouts?
Like right outside Paris.
In Paris. Yeah.
And literally every day, it's just been pouring rain for the past 2 weeks, every single day.
What do they do? Is it an indoor arena?
No. There's a roof on the 2 main courts, but that's it.
Because they do indoor ones as well, don't they?
Yeah. The 2 main courts have a roof, but they only close the roof when there's a weather delay. So like let's say it started raining during this match right now, they wouldn't resume play for probably like an hour and a half because they got to close the roof and then get the court dry. So it's been a really annoying tournament because it's been raining a lot. But that's why I'm in like this different location. I'm on my couch because the final is going on right now, so I wanted to watch it obviously. But other than tennis, a lot of tennis this week. I even played a little bit. I got out to there's a wall like a block away from my apartment, like a park. It only has 1 court, so it's tough to like go there when the court's not being used because it's very high demand. But I was able to get wall space, hit a little bit. Other than that, work
form looked shit, man.
Dude, form was shit. It's so bad. I obviously went months without playing tennis, and I felt so uncomfortable on that wall. I was like, damn, I'm like, terrible. I don't know if you noticed in the video, there was like a cut every like 2 swings. It's because I couldn't hold a rally with myself.
I thought it was just because you were like getting the good swings. I don't actually
No, it's because I literally like I couldn't hold like a rally with myself for more than like 3 or 4 shots before the ball ended up like outside of the fence.
Yeah.
But it's good getting back. I'm officially playing again next Saturday. Like actually on a court in a match. So I'm very excited to like play with someone instead of just hitting against the wall. Work was just probably the busiest week I've had in a very long time, which was very suboptimal because I was very much paying attention to tennis throughout this week. So like my Thursday and Friday were just really busy because I let like everything pack on. But other than that, nothing. We're going to talk about the Watchers. I saw Bad Boys 4, of course. Hitman came out, kind of a big release week. So excited to talk about Richard Linklater, one of my favorites. But other than that, that's really it. Went on a nice long walk yesterday downtown, getting my steps in. I found that, I don't know why, but I'm getting like, I don't know if I'm just in like a lazy gym era, but like not had the motivation to like sit in the gym for an hour and a half, and I found myself walking a lot. I do enjoy walking, so I've been doing that. But that's it. That's really my week. Nothing really special. Just a lot of tennis, which obviously excites me.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, I wasn't here last week on the pod. I was supposed to go home to Minnesota for my friend's wedding. So shout out Matt. Congratulations on getting married. But our flight was like 7 a.m. on Friday last week. And so like, 7 a.m. flight, you wake up around like 4:30ish, 5 a.m. to get, get up, get ready, drive to the airport. So we got up like 5 a.m. alarm hits, and look at my phone. And like an hour ago, I get an email from American Airlines. It's like, oh yeah, your flight's been canceled. There's no other flights that we have today or tomorrow to get you there. So sorry, good luck. So we woke up and it was like, you wake up at 5 a.m. you're groggy. I'm like, oh, there's a lot to process right now for my tired brain. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do now. Cause American Airlines' headquarters in Dallas, and they've been having crazy like tornadoes and weather storms. I think as a result, like all their flights have been impacted. So yeah, my flight got canceled. Then, we went over to Delta Airlines, all booked full, because every flight from Phoenix to Minneapolis was canceled for like a 36-hour window. There was no bad weather here in Minneapolis. So like, it was really frustrating. No bad weather at all. It was just because their scheduling got all messed up. So like, since every flight was canceled, like every flight was just booking up like crazy. So pretty much every other airline was booked. And then there's some airlines that had openings, but they're like $2,000 a piece. Then me and Riley, like together, it'd be like $4,500 to get like a last minute flight to go home. So we're like, yeah, we're cooked right now. And driving, if you drive nonstop without ever like even stopping for gas, it's a 24-hour drive. So we're literally just cooked. So we didn't go, just stayed home. Huge bummer. We didn't really do anything. We just kind of like moped around the house and just chilled. So that's why I wasn't on the episode last week. But then this week was a solid week. I'm back in the grind of work, starting a new position in 2 weeks. So kind of in a transition phase right now. Been watching a lot of sports, been texting George every morning. For me, French Open matches usually happen like from like 2 a.m. to like 8 a.m. But I don't know. The weather delays actually kind of worked in my favor because like they'd be playing like one of Novak's matches is like 3 a.m. French time. Yeah. So I was like, it's like a perfect time for me to watch. But yeah, it's just crazy and frustrating because early rounds of the tournament when there's supposed to be like 32 matches going on at a time, then it starts raining and only 2 courts are indoors. It's like, oh, we just went from 32 matches and now 2 are playing. So it's kind of like an awful tournament to follow and watch as a fan because it's just so many delays and suspensions. And it was just
and what sucks for the players is they're so like all of these majors are so locked into tradition. Like the final has to be on a Sunday. They cannot push it back. So like instead of pushing the final back 2 or 3 days, they're cramming all of these delayed matches into back-to-back days. So like Felix Auger-Aliassime, great young Canadian player, got absolutely like fucked because he had to play 2 matches on back-to-back days, and one of them was against Carlos Alcaraz. So playing Carlos sucks on its own, but playing him when you've already played back-to-back days sucks even more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy, and especially just seeing people play tennis at like 3 a.m. is like for their local time. It's like got to be insane because the mental fatigue and physical fatigue at that hour is just crazy. And then you have to like, then that ruins like your sleep schedule for when you have your next match. Like it was just a mess. And then same thing for NBA and NHL playoffs. Like anyone who's been following those knows both the conference finals for both sports kind of ended pretty quick. So we had like a week off between those and the finals. And it just kind of killed all momentum. Like I was so locked into both playoffs, like watching every game. Now it was like a whole week off and like I'm still watching them. Like Stanley Cup started last night. NBA Finals game 2's today. But even the NBA Finals, like the conference finals were every other day. Now there's like 2 days in between each game. I feel like it just like kills the momentum of the sport where I'm like not as locked in as I otherwise was. But obviously rooting for the Mavericks. Tough game 1 against the Celtics, but we'll see if they can come back and make it a series. And then anyone who's watching hockey, kind of the same thing. Like the Panthers absolutely killed the Oilers. So if things stay on track, like we might have just like an all-time just like bad NBA and NHL finals right now. But yeah, football season's coming soon to save us. But other than that, my week's been somewhat standard. I'm trying to start getting my walk grind like George too. But, with like Arizona, it's like if I don't get my walk done by like 10, I'm just kind of cooked because like looking at my weather, like Tuesday's 109 degrees, Wednesday and Thursday 110, might crack into like 112 it looks like this week. So, and that's usually around like from like noon to like 5, that's what the temperature will be. So if I'm not like done with my walk by 10 a.m. It's like there's just no way I'm going out. And I actually did during the week walk like around lunchtime because that's what I like to walk, but went for like 10 minutes when usually I like to go for like 45 minutes because you just literally start to melt or feel like your skin's going to get like, I don't know, 1st-degree burns after like 5 minutes outside. So it's just like a straight up oven outside. But yeah, what have you been watching this week? Cameron, go back to you. I know we've been doing a lot of Linklater, a lot of Bad Boys. We've been doing anything else on top of that?
Nah, I won't mention anything. Just hopefully get to the review. But I have the votes from Emma. She said either Seth or George win. So sorry, Tyler.
You two are not on the same page.
Yeah, 2/3. And then her top 5 and bottom 5. Her top 5 are Coraline, Gamora, Arwen, George, and WandaVision.
George made the top 5.
Yeah, George
no B?
top 5.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
George.
That's huge. That's huge.
Tell
her I really appreciate that.
Of course.
I got 2 in that, so I appreciate it. I like
bottom 5, so starting like 10 through 15. 10 being Imperator Furiosa. 4 Barry Lyndon.
He hates Furiosa. And
crazy. 4 being Barry Lyndon. 11. 12 being Mr. Bean. 13 being Mon Mothma, and then I guess I was off a number, but 15 being the T-1000.
Mon Mothma below Bean?
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. That's a little crazy. I'm guessing she just assumes like moth and doesn't like moths or something. But those were Emma's rankings of them. So her and I not on the same page with those at all.
Thank you for putting 2 in. I like
but yeah, haven't really watched anything other than Linklater and Bad Boys.
Well, I appreciate Emma for doing that ranking. Seth, what have you been watching this week other than the live action stage stuff?
Yeah, very minimal. Gaming week for me again, Tyler. You know this. Completed Elden Ring though.
Twitter follow at
big 2K group. Go 2K.
Yeah, big 2K group. Big 2K group. We were cooking. I've not really watched much. The only things I've watched this week, I watched Lost Highway again because shout out Marta. We did a podcast, kind of like an hour, like 2 hours, just breaking down Lost Highway scene by scene. That was really, really fun. So I watched that again. Watched Titan again, so another rewatch there. Obviously loved it. Watched Owen's film, Self-Portrait, which I forgot to watch. That was cool. And that's kind of it. Most of my stuff this week has been dedicated to either obviously being away for a couple of days or Linklater. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to go to the cinema at all this week. Like I missed out on my Matrix screening as well, which is really sad. Obviously I wanted to see The Watchers. I knew I probably wouldn't get to Bad Boys 4 just because I haven't even seen the third one yet. Even though I liked the original 2, it was kind of I just held off on watching the third one. So I will watch those next week and probably give my thoughts on those. But yeah, most of it's been Linklater stuff this week anyway.
George, how about yourself?
I mean, nothing we're not really going to talk about. Bad Boys 1, 2, and 4. I watched 4 first, and then I watched 1 and 2, and unfortunately, I did not get to 3. A couple of Linklaters. It's Impossible to Learn to Plow by Reading Books, and Hitman again. And then I watched Godzilla last night. One of those nights I just could not sleep, so it was like 2 a.m. and I tossed on Spike Lee's Crooklyn, which just I'm looking at it now. I don't know how I have that movie at a 4.5 stars. That's got to be a 5. That movie I think is maybe better than Do the Right Thing, honestly, respectfully. And then The Watchers.
Which did you watch? The original?
No, -1.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize it was on Netflix. Honestly, I had no idea it was on Netflix, and it was. I had finished watching Hitman that night, and I was like, "What do I want to watch?" And it was probably like 11:30 p.m. And I was like, "I don't want to watch something that I've never seen because I'm not really in the mood to pay attention to something." So I just tossed on Godzilla and ended up paying attention to the entire movie. But yeah, that's literally it. That is really slow week movie wise.
Yeah, most of my week's been dedicated to Linklater and Bad Boys as well. But outside of that, earlier in the week, like a week ago, rewatched Priscilla. Still have a great time with it. Things really, really good movie. And Kaylee Spaney's obviously just absolutely crushing it. And now being added to the Knives Out cast, as you guys kind of talked about last week, she's booked and busy. She's like her and Glenn Powell are just kind of like taking over in terms of just getting cast.
I love her.
Yeah. she's kind of the GOAT right now. She's crushing it. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about the Alien Romulus trailer too later. She's just kind of everywhere. Rewatched The Lovely Bones. That movie like scarred me more than Coraline when I watched it as a kid. I remember it was like a family movie night when I was like super young. It was like, oh fuck, like life's real. I'm gonna get smashed up and killed. But yeah, it's Peter Jackson movie. Saoirse Ronan, super young. She like, it's crazy. Just like at a young age, you just kind of knew immediately. It's like she's got the sauce to be like an incredible actress. But it was interesting because like, I mean, it's not like that great of a movie. It's a 3-star for me, which is like generous because it still makes me cry. But there's so much fantasy elements, like these dream worlds that you'd think Peter Jackson would just kill, but he just kind of like those are kind of like the worst parts of the movie to me. Like all like the
it's a weird film. It's like I rewatched it like 2 years ago after similar to you, like traumatized me as a kid. I liked it significantly less. I really just don't like it. But there's some, I think from memory, you know, before it happened, someone obviously said what. It's actually okay, and then after that, it kind of just devoids into nothingness for me, and kind of just falls really flat. It's a really weird film for Peter Jackson to take on. I'll look back at it, really bizarre.
Stanley Tucci, I think, is really great in it.
He is
terrifying performance, and Saoirse Ronan is great. But yeah, I think like the first like 30 minutes are awesome when they set the background, the stage, and I do like the end, final act too. I think there's a lot of good tension there, but everything in the middle, I just thought was a huge miss. Which again, I think is so interesting because that's like where it gets like super fantasy and you get some wild visuals that you'd think, you know, Peter Jackson, that'd be right up his alley, but that's the part I like the least about the movie. And then we did The Lighthouse for our review for our Patreon exclusive review. And other than that, just watching Linklater's Bad Boys and Watchers movies.
Are you light out? Are you light out or light in? I didn't even see your review.
I'm out. I'm lower than everyone else. That's fine.
Is Cam light out or light in?
He still didn't watch it. And the whole point they chose it this week is they wanted, the whole motivation was to get Cam to watch The Lighthouse. So that one backfired on them. But
the whole in or out thing, Tyler, you tweeted like when you tweeted that video of your Avatar box office prediction, you were like, I was Ava Intar. You were all Ava Outar. And I was like, where's my man coming up with this shit?
That's like one of my favorite ongoing like
jokes.
I do like it a lot. It's really good.
Well, now we're gonna find out if we were hit min or hit mount as we did our Hitman review. That one doesn't work, but Hitman works.
No, I like it. I like it.
All right. Or Hitman or Houtman. I don't know how you want to go about it, but Richard Linklater's latest film, co-written by himself and Glenn Powell. He's not a killer, but he can pretend. A mild-mannered professor moonlighting as a fake contract killer sparks a chain reaction of trouble when he falls for a client. Is based on a true story, which I low-key thought when they said it at the beginning of the movie, like the whole based on a true story, I thought it was like a tongue-in-cheek joke, like based on a true story, but not actually is. And, you know, at the end of the movie, like the end credits shows like the real person. You're like, oh shit, this actually was like, I mean, obviously, like most based on stories, very fabricated, but
the true story ends. Well, that'd be getting into spoilers. So
yeah, but I mean, it was inspired by a true story that was written about in a Texas Daily newspaper article. Glenn Powell and Richard Linklater is like all time like Texas dudes. Like they just love it, and especially Richard Linklater. Like especially once you dive in his filmography, like dude is always in Texas. So and this is based on true story. So when I saw it was in New Orleans, I was like, man, I thought one of the fabrications for sure would be Linklater just put this in Austin, Texas, like he does like every other movie he's ever done. But let's get into so Seth saw this a few weeks ago. George saw this like a year ago. And then Cam and myself saw it now that it's released on Netflix and it's released for everyone to see. It had a festival circuit like last year. And then after that, it kind of went into a new festival circuit this year. And then Netflix obviously got the rights and put it out theatrically, limitedly 2 weeks ago. So the release for Hitman has been kind of just crazy, and everyone's been just seeing it at weird different times. But now that everyone can see it, we figured we'd tackle it. So we'll start with Seth. Your thoughts on Hitman?
Yeah, so I briefly mentioned it last week. I waited kind of to say the majority because I knew that we were waiting because I think it was like in the US, I think it was like 40 cinemas nationwide it got put in, or maybe even less, which is crazy. Like it's a really massive shame, and obviously George will attest to this as well. On the big screen, this is so good. Like in a cinema, like, this is the shit, man. It's great. It's really, really great. It's a fun, zippy rom-com with endless amounts of charisma, chemistry, sexiness. You know, the main two, you're not going to get a better looking on-screen couple maybe ever at this point. Hot take. I think that again, it's Linklater balancing this kind of meta humor, which actually works, and I think a lot of films try and just squeeze that in. It doesn't really come across well. I think Glenn Powell is amazing. I think his kind of, we'll go on to some later, but his just ridiculous mannerisms. I think he's a very, very funny, a great actor, and really great in this film. But this was kind of the funniest I'd seen him as well. Just really coming into his own. I said in my review, like, you can tell that the actors had a lot to play with as well, which is always nice because there are just so many scenes that are just so much fun. And for the, you know, a 2-hour runtime, whatever it is, me and Anna were just laughing in awe. It was just the exact film I needed that day. And it's a very likable film. You know, it's sharp, it's attentive, its direction as Linklater always is. Well, as far as I've seen anyway, and we'll get into that. But it's also just really, really fun, you know, and not Deadpool fun, shout out Deadpool, but actually fun, you know? Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a shame that most people couldn't see this on the big screen. I think it deserves that. For lack of a better term, the word we always bring up when discussing Linklater's filmography, it's vibey. You know, it's just straight Linklater, unabashed vibes from start to finish, but with its own stylish twist. I think it all boils and culminates in this fantastic ending as well, which we'll get into. And also some people who didn't like the ending much. I really loved it. And just to compare where it's at, it's currently my number 4 of the year. So really, really high. I give it a 4.5. I think it's great.
Nice. I was going to jump to Cam next, but he's not here. So I'll go to George, who saw it the longest ago. I know you obviously rewatched it since, but you've been waiting, chomping at the bit to talk Hitman with us for almost a year at this point. The day's finally here. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I've been waiting for a lot. I've been waiting, 1, to rewatch it. I've been waiting, 2, to get all of your reactions. And I was just excited for you guys to watch it. And then obviously I was excited to talk to you guys about it on the pod. But yeah, everything Seth kind of said. 2 hours, I was just smiling ear to ear. I think it is so funny. It is so sexy. Glenn and I always mispronounce her first name.
That's why I didn't put it in, because I ain't got that all roll.
It's spelled
need
like
Sammy here right now.
Audria, but it's like Audria. But they are so amazing together. They're back and forth. It's sharp, it's quick, it's witty, it's sexy, it's funny. It's just it's just like the most Linklater-y movie ever. He's bringing in such fantastic, relaxed vibes with such hard-hitting, like, black comedy. He's giving us this crime noir thriller disguised as a romantic comedy. It's like the perfect blend of 2 genres in film I just didn't know could blend together and create something so amazing and so intoxicating. I obviously, there's a lot of sequences I can't wait to talk about, particularly the Notes app scene, which in a year of Dune 2 and Furiosa, Notes app scene is like maybe my favorite scene of the year. I love it. I love that I saw this movie in theaters twice because I got to watch these crowds react to this entire movie, and the crowd reactions were, they did not disappoint. People reacted the way you should have reacted. People were oohing and eyeing and ha-haing, and people were applauding, and it was so much fun watching it in theaters. I'm really one of the few films that, like, genuinely bothers me that did not get, like, a wide theatrical release. Like, I don't know, like when Wonder Woman 84 came out, I didn't give a fuck that went straight to streaming, but like Hitman deserves a wide release and deserves to stay in theaters for like 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, I really like it. It's my 3rd of the year right now. I will be rewatching it several times this year. It's one of those movies for me that I could just see myself rewatching endlessly and continue to love, which I could say about most Linklater. I won't spoil where this lands in my Linklater ranking because we'll go through that later. But yeah, those are my quick thoughts.
Cameron, what are your thoughts on Hitman?
I fucking loved Hitman, man. It's just such a good time. Just a really easy, simple watch. I don't want to, repeat everything you guys said. I didn't hear some things, but yeah, I just really, really liked it. Glenn Powell is fantastic. He has the most aura in Hollywood right now, and he gets to display that in like 8 different characters in this. And he nails every single one of them. Adria Arjona is just fantastic. Like, obviously, she's so good in this. And like I think George mentioned, like the notes app scene, you really display like her and Glenn are just going back and forth, just nailing it. Yeah, I really loved it. It's a great time, great story about self-identification, who you want to be, and things like that. But just an all-around really easy, simple watch, and real conversation. Like Friday, I went out with some of Emma's friends, had dinner, and then hung out. And they were like, I was recommending it to the people as I do, right? And they were saying, "Oh yeah, I heard of that. Is that in theaters?" And I was like, "No, it's on Netflix." And they're like, "Thank God, I'll actually watch it." So yeah, theaters are dead. Theaters are dead officially.
Yeah,
but
Bad Boys would disagree.
Bad Boys is crushing it. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but it's just a very like intense, fun movie. Like not too intense that you're on the edge of your seat the entire time, but intense enough that it keeps you intrigued, I would say. And yeah, just watching this, and then I watched Everybody Wants Some. Glenn Powell and Richard Linklater they're just on top of it, man. They've got the juice for sure. But big fan.
Mm-hmm.
92 out of 100, 93 out of 100 for myself. Sexy movie.
Nice.
Where does it come in your year? We said year. What your
two if we don't count the Bluey special. 3 if we count the Bluey special.
Okay.
Love that.
Only one thing this year has made me cry. I can't deny the Bluey influence.
Fair enough. Ultimate Spin Zone on the IMDb like trivia thing. I said initially, I was like, I thought they did this in New Orleans because it's based on a true story, whereas every other Richard Linklater movie is based in Texas pretty much. So I was surprised they didn't do it there because he loves Texas so much. The real life Gary Johnson was based in Houston, Texas, and they didn't film there because tax credits and financial elements, New Orleans was offering them money. So Richard Linklater, kind of like a fraud Texan, like they handed it on a silver platter to him to say, make your 27th movie based in Texas, Richard. And he said, New Orleans is calling me across the border there over to Louisiana. But yeah, I unfortunately am not as high as you all on Hitman. I didn't love it as much as I was expecting, and I don't know if that's because it was like so hyped up beforehand. I just watched it late last night with Riley. We both didn't love it as much as we were kind of expecting to. Yeah, I don't know. It works in a lot of ways. I really like the genre bending elements of it. We'll kind of get into that when we get into spoilers. Obviously, like the first third of the movie is kind of one sort of genre and style, and it kind of switches for the middle, and then kind of the third act kind of blends them two together in a nice little way. But I think Glenn Powell's performance is incredible. We'll get into, like you said, some of the intricacies and the mannerisms he has, but obviously he has to put on a lot of different faces and a lot of different personalities for this performance, and I think he just knocks it out of the park. Like some of the impressions he does are just really just too good, almost like absolutely incredible. And then it's interesting because George said there's like the most like Linklater movie ever. I thought this was like the least Linklater movie ever. I feel like this is like the quite different.
I kind of agree that I think it's the least Linklater.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He's never really done a crime movie.
No,
like this,
he's never done this. It just feels like he's pulling like the vibes of the chill vibes of Everybody Wants Some. Yeah. He's pulling like the heartfelt romance of the Before trilogy. He's pulling like, you could even call this like a coming of age film for like Gary Johnson, which is just like very like boyhood reminiscent. Obviously he's never done like crime noir, but like, I don't know. I feel like this is him just pulling the best of like his vibey aesthetic and just putting it all into one film.
Yeah, that's fair enough to me. I don't know. I feel like to me, Linklater films are usually just like dense with, elegant dialogue and prose. And this is more like, witty meta comedy. Like I still really liked the writing of it, but I don't think to me, it didn't really like kind of feel like a Before trilogy, like a Slacker and Everybody Wants Some, a Dazed and Confused, where I just kind of get like lost in the dialogue and don't really care about like the actual plot of what's going on. Just kind of just like join in for the ride. Whereas this, I was very much like, okay, where's this going? I kind of, like Seth was alluding to, I kind of fall on the side of I didn't really like the ending. I thought it was just like a little too convenient.
I loved it.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of like not my favorite. I definitely liked it. I'm on the positive side. I give it 3.5 out of 5. But yeah, I just wasn't really blown away. But I think, Glenn Powell crushes it. Adria Arjona, I think it's pretty good. But nothing really kind of blew me away with it. But overall, I definitely like enjoyed my time with it. So unfortunately, I'm a little lower on it. But yeah, 3.5 is where I land on Hitman. But at this point, jump ahead with timestamps. We're going to get into spoilers now. So if you haven't seen Hitman, go watch this on Netflix. You have no excuse to not watch it at this point. Go watch it. Because if you get spoiled at this point, that's your own fault. So jump ahead with the timestamps. Where do we want to start? Where do we want to jump in? I know there's a lot of stuff that is spoiler related we want to start talking about.
I guess we just start
the based on a true story thing that I wanted to bring up, which I don't even know if it's a spoiler, but I guess it's kind of spoiler. The Richard Linklater at the Q&A I was at was explaining that the true story of Gary Johnson, the initial article that he read that inspired this movie, it ends when Gary as Ron initially lets Madison go. That's where the story ends. Everything after is just
fabrication. Whatever.
It's just fabrication. It's just whatever Richard and Glenn.
I kind of assumed
wrote.
he didn't like willingly admit to killing someone, and then
obviously,
getting away with
That'd be
it.
crazy if like the article was like Gary was like, yeah, and then we killed this guy, and now we're just getting away with murder.
Yeah.
But that's where the true story ends. But it not even. I know we're getting to spoiler territory, but this isn't really spoilery. Glenn Powell is so good. He is like. His
Tilda Swinton guy is
hilarious. All of his characters were so
who is your
funny.
favorite? Who is your favorite?
I think the Tilda Swinton or
I
the
like
guy who's skeet shooting with the
the ski shooting one where he like
yeah, that was funny.
I
like the Russian kind of guy. Yeah, Tilda.
But no, he's like he feels like he feels like a James Dean, like such just like an old fashioned true like charismatic movie star. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like Timothée Chalamet is a movie star, but like Glenn Powell feels like a very 80s 90s movie star. Like he feels like 90s Brad Pitt kind of, where he's like this very sexy presence. He's a good looking dude obviously, but he's also just like acting his ass off, and he's really good on screen. And like anything you watch, whether you like the movie or not, I feel like you're going to like Glenn Powell at the very least.
Alfred Hitchcock would be all over Glenn Powell. That's like what we're talking. Like he's like a solo lead of a spy film, of like an espionage film. It's like he has the presence, but he also in Hitman, like I mentioned earlier, he's so funny. Like his little mannerisms, the little impersonations he's doing across the board. He's really, really good at fitting into a character and getting the most out of it. Whether he needs to be charismatic or whether he needs to be Gary, like it's completely different between the two.
My favorite part about it is when he's getting into all these characters for his main character of Ron, right? That's it. Ray? Ron?
No.
Ron.
Yeah, Ron.
Okay.
Ron.
At Ron, it's just, they're like, yeah, just be you. You can just be you for this one. For everyone else, he's got to put something on. But for Ron, he's just like, oh yeah, I'm Glenn Powell. I'm hot as shit and I'm the fucking man. Like, but I think it's so impressive. Like this is without a doubt the easiest way to just show someone's range. It's always like if you play two different characters, does it count as like showing your range of an actor? But like he plays 9 different people in this thing and he nails every single one of them. And a lot of them are just like small 4-minute scenes, 2-minute scenes of him talking to someone else about getting murdering someone. But he like melts into these characters so well that it's just amazing to see on screen. And I think he has the best chemistry of the year, probably, with Adria Arjona. I always struggle to pronounce her.
We need Sammy. I'm telling you, we need Sammy.
Yeah, I don't. Arjona is like the like more his Latino name in there, but Adria is the one I struggle with for some reason.
Isn't that Adria? Oh, that was good.
Oh, it might be. That was pretty good. Yeah, I think he has without a doubt the best on-screen chemistry. Them two have the best on-screen chemistry of the year.
Of the year? You mean ever?
Maybe ever. Maybe
like,
ever.
if you're talking like, okay, maybe not ever. Let's go, Chris. The 2020s, they stand out.
That's crazy. I didn't get that. Like, I don't know, but
really,
fair enough.
The flight
really,
scene
you didn't feel the
like
chemistry at all.
The flight scene or the what is it? The flight attendant
Bro, I
scene.
fell to my knees.
Like
in that
I was like I fell to my knees in a Walmart right there.
Yeah,
like them
crazy.
two going back and forth was insane for me. And then as we've mentioned the notes app scene, I don't want to like jump ahead to it. But the notes app scene, like the dialogue back and forth is just and like Tyler said, it's not a classic Linklater where it's thought provoking or it's
I think it is.
Makes it not. I'm saying the notes app scene itself.
Okay,
I don't think that scene is like super thought provoking, but it's quick, it's witty, it's back and forth. They're like flowing off each other one by one. I thought it was really impressive, and I think George said like it does stack up with some like Dune scenes this year, in my opinion. And maybe you didn't get that, Tyler, like you said, but like it's impressive that these back and forth like stack up as one of the more intense and just like awesome scenes of the year, I would say.
No, I think the notes app scene is definitely was my favorite scene of the movie. I think his Patrick Bateman was just like crazy accurate, like, just scarily. Like I was like, is this just literally Christian Bale's like voiceover? Like, are they using some AI? Yeah. Like, how is Glenn Powell doing this?
I like that a lot of them were just like Patrick Bateman, Tilda Swinton, obviously. Like a lot of them are just based on like funny people, like in movies and stuff, which I was a big fan of.
That's what I mean. It's very like I think meta humor, like really, I think a lot of people struggle to put it in their films, but I think Glenn Powell just fits it so seamlessly that it feels refreshing. You know, it's just different.
Yeah. I think it's worth like diving into the story a little bit. So obviously he's this fake hitman. He's going around kind of on sting operations with a crew. His old partner or his old hitman basically beats up a bunch of kids, which I thought was hilarious. I kind of wish they would have like shown the video of him beating up the kids just as like a funny joke. But he gets suspended for 120 days or something. Glenn Powell has to take over as this hitman. Glenn Powell being a school professor named Gary.
Such a good name for him as well.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? It's a Gary, isn't it? It's
just crazy. A person who's not necessarily down on himself, but probably has felt like he's never like fully achieved who he wants to be or who he could be. He has an ex-wife who basically says those exact things to him, that he needs to like go seek help or like go see someone, be more than just like Gary who lives alone and with his cats and stuff like that. So he's using that to become these characters. He like does a lot of research on these people to see what kind of person they would trust the most. And then you meet Madison, who is in an abusive relationship. She wants to kill her husband because of this. And Glenn Powell is now playing Ron, who's this like cool savant guy who's just a smooth talker and stuff. And he basically convinces her not to kill her husband, run away, take the money, which is, obviously unheard of in the hitman realm. You just kind of want to get your sting. And that's kind of where the story begins, which is interesting that George mentions like, that's where the story ends for the real Gary. But you have this 1-2 relationship between Madison and Gary. And that you clearly see that they have good chemistry at this time, but not so much. Any notes up to this point? I'm kind of just going through the movie.
Up to this point, no. Well, one thing that Riley and I kind of laughed about was like when they try to make Glenn Powell look dorky, like he clearly still looks like he's ripped. And when like the students are making fun, I'm like, God, he's such a dork. It's like, dude, no one, like, you can dress Glenn Powell up however you want. I'm not. And then at the very end of the movie, like, when did a professor get hot? I'm like,
good look.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. So he barely changed his look at all. By
literally, all he did was
like, instead
of combing his hair to the right, he just pushes it back. I'm like, this is like the classic like women in superhero movies where they like take off their glasses.
Take off their glasses.
Oh my God, she's like. So
like the classic bullied girl in school who like takes off her glasses and lets her hair down and shit. It's like, wow.
They make Gary all nerdy, and then when Ron takes his shirt off for the first time, he's absolutely shredded. Like there's no way my man Gary is pulling that kind of body with this nerdy aura you've just set up.
Gary never has worked out in his life. It's like implied, and then he's
genetic freak.
Yeah. But then moving on from when they first meet, Gary and Madison start dating a little bit. Him playing Ron. They go on a date to a club. They run into Madison's ex-husband. They're going through their divorce, right? And that's when like shit kind of starts hitting the fan. They're walking out of the club. Madison's ex-husband starts like talking to him and is like, where the fuck are you going? Like, come back here. I want to talk to your boyfriend, all that shit. And Ron, Glenn Powell's Ron character pulls a gun on him. And
crazy aura.
Crazy turn of events, man. When I think it's like I think he says step back, motherfucker. Crazy.
I didn't expect him to have a gun on him. I was like,
no,
even though that's like the still that was shown, like you never knew the context.
No,
like,
that is the still, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you kind of get a sense of Madison's edge here a little bit because she's sitting there. She's like, shoot him. He will. He's a professional or whatever. And that's where she was hoping he did. Like she set that whole thing up. Like they purposely went to that club. She wanted him to die in that. Yeah, exactly. And then so Jasper is the co-worker who gets suspended for 128 days or whatever it was.
Shout out him. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, he's in Everybody Wants Some. Austin Amelio. I did not like recognize the two, and I just watched Everybody Wants Some. So
I didn't recognize him either.
Yeah.
Was he one of the baseball players? I'd imagine.
Yeah, he's Nesper.
Yeah,
Nesper, I think.
Jesper.
No, Jesper in this, but in the other one, he's like Nesbit or something. Like
he's the knuckle flick guy.
Yeah, his name is Nesbit. You were close.
Close. Yeah. But yeah, so he catches them on their date, and obviously, like he recognized Glenn Powell, like he knows him, and then recognized Madison as like the girl that Glenn Powell like talked off the ledge, because this was a big point of the movie, is him talking her out of hitmanning. And so that's where the story starts to divulge, right? They later find that
hold on, just on that note there, crazy that she was like, you ran into an ex-coworker, I ran into my ex-husband, we're even now. Like that's
yeah, you clearly get that Madison is not this like very simple girl who's in an abusive relationship. Like she has a little bit of an edge to her, a little bit of a darker side. I mean, very clearly. At this moment, it's a little bit. At this moment.
You're the only one who's seen this, so I want to just compare it to something. Obviously, we're in spoilers anyway. I won't say anything. Yeah, she's kind of like ends up being like a love character, you know, in You. In like the end of season 3, love that's Quinn, like the same sort of thing.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
She has
I knew she was a psycho the moment she invited her hitman out for a second date. Like that's I'm like, this girl's.
I mean, also like anyone unstable. Like trying to resort to like murdering someone. I understand.
But yeah, that's
it. You go.
It is Glenn Powell though. He's like it's hard to resist.
I'd invite Glenn Powell out.
Yeah, same.
We could hang out. But then you just basically get a montage of them like going on dates and being very erotic and just having sex with each other the entire time. And that's like, or I guess that's before, but that's their rule is they don't leave the house. And then when they do, they see the ex-husband. The story starts to divulge from there that her ex-husband's killed. They start thinking it's a drug deal gone wrong. Glenn Powell goes and talks to her, and that's where it's revealed that like she shot him. She killed him. And Glenn Powell's like, shit. He gets called back to the precinct, and they change the story of, oh, we don't think it's a drug deal. We think it's officially Madison. Like 6 months ago, he took out $1 million life insurance policy and put all of the money in her name. And then following this is the iconic notes app scene that we've all been talking. Basically, it's Jasper's idea to stage a sting of her apartment. Gary's wearing a wire. He goes in as Hitman Ron and basically is just like telling her everything on a notes app because they can't get cameras in her house, obviously. So they're just wearing a wire. And this is just back and forth, like great dialogue. George, you can talk.
That's exactly what I was going to say. In that entire like synopsis you just gave of those like 4 scenes back to back, from like the initial moment where Ron finds out that Madison did shoot him, and then he like immediately snaps, and he's like,
"Oh,
I've never done this. I'm not a hitman." And then he's like, "My name's Gary," and Madison's like,
"Fuck is Gary?
Yeah,
"Fuck is Gary?"
His
like
favorite. I meant to mention
instantly goes like he just.
That was
then,
my
like,
favorite
right.
line of the movie is "Who the
Hilarious.
fuck is Gary?
Who the fuck is
I'm Gary."
But then immediately after, it's when they're in the precinct, and that's when they're going like back and forth on what to do, and it's just hilarious watching like Gary now kind of like react instinctively and turn the tables, because he was like, I actually, did see her that one night, and he was like, we actually saw you too. You were there as well, which I thought was hysterical. And then obviously the notes app scene is just, I don't think I'm out of, I even tweeted this. I need, like, Glenn Powell right now would be my number 2 pick for best actor, probably my number 1. As much as I love Timmy and Dune, he'd probably be my number 1 or 2, because that one scene alone is electric.
Is Adria Arjona best actress or supporting actress in this, do you think?
I'd say
and
she
if
comes
so,
in at
she
comes in like 30 minutes.
She comes in, but people have been nominated for way less screen time. So
either way, I don't really know. I like Zendaya and Challengers. I said it last week, but I don't really know like who would be ahead of her for me right now, just because I haven't seen like.
I'd have a couple, probably. I'd have a few.
Maybe Anya Taylor-Joy would probably have best actress right now. She's great in Furiosa, but again, she doesn't come until the hour mark.
That is true.
But yeah, the notes app scene is just mesmerizing because it's and also just so unrealistic, because as soon I'd take 40 minutes to read this fucking notes, like
and type them out too.
Yeah, I'd be like,
typing them out is crazy.
Yeah, but they're just going back and forth about
one thing I might have missed earlier. So like, when he initially meets up with what's her ex-husband's name?
I have no idea. Ray?
Sounds
right.
Yeah.
Ray.
Evan Holtzman, please.
Yeah, when they meet.
I was going to say, sorry. How did we forget that scene too, when Ray wants to hit?
Of course.
Ray talks to Ron or talks to whoever. To kill Madison and Ron. And then
Ron, how many people are trying to kill people. I don't know.
He just turns around, reveals himself, and the guy's like, "Oh shit!"
I don't know one person trying to kill another person in my life. If I'm being honest.
No.
Well, I mean, that's the point, isn't it? It's just stupid.
That's the scene I want to talk about, because like, did they explain why the people in the truck didn't hear 100% of that conversation?
No, they did hear it, but he didn't say anything like truly wrong.
He said, "I'm the boyfriend." He said,
"No." He said he didn't admit to being the boyfriend. He said, like, "How about I tell the boyfriend too," or something like that.
Yeah, no, he did. Yeah, he referred to the boyfriend.
He referred to the boyfriend, and then turns around, and then the guy goes like, "What the fuck?" And then he just runs out. So he didn't like truly incriminate himself.
Okay, I just thought it was confused when they got back in the van. It seemed like they were acting like they're like, "Why do you just like run out?" Like I was like, "Didn't you hear everything that was happening?"
Yeah. First off, shout out Donna Meagle from Parks and Rec, and then whoever else the other guy is. Like, I think they're just too aloof to it, to where they always are having these hits, and like they.
Can I just say though, like, weird. It's like that. Even if he had have said something, it wouldn't have bothered me within the context of the film. I think a unrealistic nature within the context of this film would not have bothered me one little bit. Like, the ending's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It just, I don't care. I think it's just, it's not.
For me with movies, it's like, if you set up rules, just like follow the rules. But yeah, I need to rewatch the CNC, because like the rules of the film where they know everything that happens inside.
He doesn't say anything incriminating, and Jasper's the only one that like kind of catches it being weird, because he's watching him way more intensely, because
he's not reporting it, because as we know what we see. He's the one who kind of knows he wants something.
The fucking scene where Gary and Ron go back to the club, and Gary's like on his knees sniffing around. Like
that was so funny.
He's like trying to smell out the boyfriend, and just stands up and goes, "There he is."
There he is. Yeah, that was good. I really liked him.
Like, there's so many moments in this movie that are just like, they're just dumb. They're just dumb, funny moments. Like in the beginning when Gary is wearing like the jean shorts, and then he switches pants with the other guy, and the other guy's like doing squats. Like, these are actually pretty comfortable. Like, it's so stupid, but it's so fucking funny.
Yeah. So after the notes app scene, he goes back to the bus or the car and is like, oh, she must not have done it. Whatever. They do a very convincing job to make it seem like she didn't. Gary, again, Jasper, the only one that really questions it because he wants his job back. Gary drives away, end of the night, and then ends up going back to Madison's house. Idiotic.
Who's there?
And of course, Jasper's there. And yeah, and this is basically the end of the movie. Jasper wants the $1 million life insurance policy that was just taken out. He's got a whole plan. She goes and gets him a drink. She poisons. Say that again.
I just said this for me was like the funniest, but this is what I mean when I say Glenn Powell's mannerisms. So obviously she gets him a drink. He drinks when Glenn Powell's there. We turn out to be poison. And I just love the scene when he's slowly just dying and Glenn Powell's there like, what the fuck is going on? His face.
Yeah.
He's just like looking at him dying. He's like, what? Bro, I was so I find him so funny just throughout, and this bit was really, really great. I really like this bit a lot.
And throughout the movie, especially the scene that George mentioned where they're back at the police precinct talking about what they're going to do to get Madison, like Glenn Powell's slowly moving from this Gary persona to the Ron character, who he much prefers because Ron is sexy and suave and well-spoken.
Yeah. This is why, like, is it crazy to call this a coming of age movie? Because even in the courthouse where he's being like questioned like crazy, he thinks to himself, he's like, what would Ron do? And then from that point on, he kind of like adopts the Ron persona as like who he is. Like he's kind of like becoming this, like, I don't know, he's just becoming significantly more confident. He's realizing that like Ron is who he wants to be.
I don't think it's crazy to call it a coming of age movie. I think it's more, it's that, but also like more so you're never too old to like become who you want to be kind of thing. Even though Glenn Powell looks like 26, he's like 35, I think.
I don't know if he does. I think he looks 35. I think he looks.
Do you think so? No, I think he looks
I do.
Young,
no, he turns 36 this year.
I think he looks like that though. I think he looks like that. He's just a very handsome man, you know?
That's definitely coming of age and for sure could be listed as it, but also just like you can still do it kind of thing. You can still be who you want to be. People can change. Throughout this, he obviously is giving lectures to his class about like persona and different things and who you want to be, things like that. But at the end, she poisons Jasper. Gary puts a bag over his head and he just starts
just slowly dying.
Crazy scene though too, because you do see like the bag opening and close, like getting air in it and closing and stuff. You basically see this guy like passing out and dying, which is just crazy. And then it is a very convenient ending of like they just dump him off and then it fast forwards 10 years.
It's literally you. It's literally the ending.
Literally you. It is. It really is.
Yeah. Or whatever
I love that you pulled that out because I didn't even think of that. But Gary and Madison have 2 kids. I assume they've moved away with the $1 million or whatever. They're doing whatever they want to do, and they're just a happy little ending. And I kind of loved it. Like Tyler, you said you didn't love it. I kind of loved this silly little like it all working out ending because it never was a movie for me that I was so, like I said, on the edge of my seat that I was thinking like this is so realistic. This is like a stupid ending. Like it was always a silly, goofy, fun, intriguing movie, but never like super intense kind of thing.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's fine. Like, I think obviously I'm in the minority. I think most people love this movie, but yeah, it's just like obviously they would have never gotten away with anything they did. No. Which again, it's not a realistic movie, so I don't care. But it's also just I just wasn't like rooting for them because they're both like terrible people, and I was like, I don't really want them to. Have
Gary wasn't terrible until.
I mean, of course he was. What do you mean?
I mean, he was
doing wrong.
That was Ron. That was Ron. Gary Chill. That was
true.
Ron.
Gary Chill. Gary's
okay,
Ron guy, has 2
Gary
cats,
just a chiller.
knows about birds.
Yeah. Talked to his ex-wife even though she's having a baby with another dude. Like he's good.
That was crazy scene. He's like he did say, but it just kind of proves that he's kind of like this soft guy who's like willing to give anyone anything. Like if his wife wanted a divorce but still wants to be friends, like he's just gonna roll over and accept that kind of thing, and so you very clearly see the change of progression from Gary to Ron.
Would you not also consider it a cautionary tale though?
Huh?
Like, would you not also consider it a cautionary tale as well?
Don't date hot girls.
No, just in terms of that trying to look for something else.
Don't murder a coworker.
Yeah, but no, but I think
murder
it's
coworker.
like there's definitely a cautionary tale here as well. I wouldn't say it's all, coming of age as such. You definitely couldn't be considered that. There's definitely elements of that.
Gary is a psychopath. Like Gary.
Yeah, there's definitely like
he's not a good person.
Like how
he's
far
mentally
would you
unstable.
go to be who? Like how far would you go to prove you're not someone else, kind of thing? Like to prove you're not this lame loser, Gary. Like what would you do to be a different person? Like there's definitely those lengths. But like I said, I think if you take it as like a super serious movie, you can get into that. But me watching it, finding it like silly, goofy, in a fun watch, like I don't necessarily like think there's a sinister element of it. I think it's a very like extremely told version of like a be who you want to be kind of story. Obviously, don't go kill people to become more confident. I think that's pretty give and take or given. But I think definitely if it were a more serious movie, you could take away is like, oh, does this guy want us to kill people or something? But because it was so silly, lighthearted, over exaggerated, I think it works for me.
Mm-hmm. Dude, yeah, and so the story is based on like with the actual guy who got like I think it said at the end like 70 people put away. Happened like I think late 1990s or something. So technology wasn't as widespread as it is now. Obviously, the movie takes place present day because they have iPhones, they have modern technology, but being like a hitman in like pre-19 like 50, I feel like would not be that hard.
No, definitely not.
Pretty easy.
Being a hitman or being a fake hitman.
Probably just get away with
either that or working in like the coal mines all day.
You could probably just walk behind an alley and shoot someone and no one would be able to find you. Like I gotta assume people that got caught in the 1950s were idiots.
Think how long it took like many of the famous serial killers to get caught because it was so early on until the technology advanced, Yeah,
basically now I don't think you can go anywhere without like.
Now you're fucked. It's gonna be.
You're not getting away with anything.
I'll walk outside and walk down my street, and my neighbors have 6 Ring cameras. Like you're screwed.
You're there everywhere. You've got eyes on you everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. No like I like traffic stops have cameras. Like it's game over. Yeah, but you're
kind of weird to think about. Kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's something that it's something that I just really don't worry about. To be honest with you, like I know I'm being watched. I know my data's being taken.
I thought you were talking about hitmen, for example. No, I'd hope no one has a hitman.
No, I hope.
Personally, me not that worried about hitmans in my life. I think we're good with that.
They don't exist. It's the whole point of the film. People like to think it's like this when it's not.
I mean, I'm sure there's under 0.5 hitmen in the world. I'm taking the over.
No, there is. But I think the whole point is how people perceive it through film.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. There is hitman.
Yeah. But I don't think it would be possible to hire one without falling for one of these traps. I'm sure like 99.999% of any listing you'd ever find on any dark web would just be.
A lot of the true crime people a lot of the people who get arrested for murder are people who try and hire a hitman and then end up hiring a police officer. That's like a very, very common thing.
Well, that's kind of like parallels to like like Vitaly, the YouTuber. Like that's like his whole thing nowadays, like doing the same thing, but like entrapping like pedophiles.
Is he still doing shit? Wow.
No, he's like very big. He's like a Chris Hansen that To Catch a Predator. Like there's a lot of streamers, and that's like their full-time gig now. Is like doing To Catch a Predator in real life.
There's some here as well. Yeah,
kind of mirrors what is happening in this, where like people just kind of set up stings and trap. I guess what do you even call someone who hires a hitman? Like they're not like wannabe murderers. They're like wannabe accomplices to murder. Like what
it technically is murder though if they get convicted. So it's like. I guess they are because they are still soliciting the murder,
Yeah. Interesting.
So solicitation of murder. Solicitation of murder. Yeah. That's the title. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's time. Like, again, I'm gonna try to get through this. Adria Arjona gets a better agent now. Like this is her entrance to better projects because
I did see her.
Do you know her filmography prior to this?
I did have a look. I didn't know.
Six Underground, the Michael.
600
Underground, the Michael Bay. Yeah. Let me see. Triple Frontier with like,
which isn't a bad Netflix original.
I haven't
one of the better
seen
ones.
Oh, she was in that Belko Experiment. I know George has watched.
She was in a Pacific Rim Uprising.
When was she in Belko Experiment? What the fuck?
She's in True Detective.
She was in Life of the Party. The what's that? famous comedian woman who sucks name. It's just
she's in Borderlands film. I didn't even know that.
Wait, I do not see that in her filmography.
She's in Borderlands.
See that?
She's credited on Letterboxd in Borderlands.
She's not credited on IMDb.
Triple Frontier is like her best movie prior to this, which is just a fine movie.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying when you cut out. It's like one of the better Netflix originals, but it's nothing like crazy.
Oh, she was in that Sweet Girl with Jason
Sweet
Momoa.
Girl, I've never seen. I gotta assume if Jason Momoa is leading, it's not.
It's got a 2.3.
It's got bad ratings as well.
She's top billed on Zoe Kravitz's debut this summer, Blink Twice. So
yeah, I saw that. So get better projects now. You can do this. But
hopefully she's not in Borderlands, and Letterboxd just got that wrong. That's just.
I loved Hitman.
Yeah, I do not think she's in Borderlands because I love Letterboxd.
Why does it say she's in Borderlands?
IMDb is still the GOAT for filmographies.
Why does it say she's in Borderlands? No, IMDb isn't the GOAT. That might be Google. You know when you search it and it's like Robert De Niro is like Godfather 1. That might be Google.
No, Google's the worst because if it's a franchise, you can't use Google. They'll just say everyone's in the first movie. But yeah,
it's weird.
Anyone else have anything to say on Hitman?
Hit mid for real.
Peak mid, peak man. Richard Linklater.
It is
Peak Man. I like it. Peak Man. That's better.
I'll be interested to see what happens for awards because I always get confused on the whole when movies are released in the year prior at festivals, but not fully released. I think this should still be a 2024 release.
They have to get a certain theatrical release.
It is. It wasn't up for.
Yeah, it won't be last year.
That's true. So
because it didn't get any theatrical release, did it? And it has to get some sort of public theatrical release. I'm pretty sure.
I'm glad this got somewhat of a theatrical release. Not obviously not a widespread, but but Netflix didn't.
I was gonna
say you're never getting a theatrical.
Yeah, he said that. We talked about that 9 months ago on the pod. Where he's never, but every single Netflix original movie has had that 2 week limited.
I don't know if that's true though, because I don't think Maestro had any limited.
Maestro did.
Maestro did.
Did it?
There's been a couple this year Netflix movies that had been.
Yeah, I think all of them get these really small 2 weeks.
I thought. Yeah, for some reason I thought they.
But yeah, it's just odd because we swore we talked about on the podcast how the CEO was never again. But
did Atlas?
No, but isn't that coming into fruition down the line though? Future,
it
maybe.
Could be, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what he said on the.
Maybe when these go into production, they have the
things that aren't.
This is the kind of movie though. I think that'll have 60 billion views by tomorrow, according to Netflix. It's their most streamed movie ever. It would have made.
Well, here's the question: how many logs does it have? Is it doing? Let me see this shit.
No, I have asked Emma about 5 times if she wants to watch it. Last night, I was like, "You want to throw on Hitman?" And every time I'm hit with a resounding no. So,
I will say this, Cameron. I will say this. Anna doesn't like a lot. Anna loved Hitman. So tell Emma.
I think Emma would like it. It's like I said, it's easy. It's to watch. It's silly. It's fun, and you don't have to think about it. Emma hates movies,
and you get to look at 2 crazy good-looking people as well.
She's not as into I'm into.
No, Powell. Same. I was gonna say Riley's kind of Glout Powell. She's not Glout Powell.
Crazy. That's crazy.
But no, because Cam, just to put the other side of it, Riley gave it a 3. She said a 3-star was generous for Hitman. So
really,
Tyler, that's one of your best ones. That got me. That was really good.
3, but I don't know if she'd like
that was so smooth. It was Glout Powell. That was really good.
But
Emma honestly is more intrigued by the Under Paris Shark movie, which I did start, by the way.
Oh my god, that was terrible.
It was calling to me like the Green Goblin mask, man. Just
I loved your tweet. I think you're what did you say? You're sorry, not watching Hitman.
Sorry, not watching Hitman this week. Yeah. Gotta put this on repeat or something.
It looks terrible.
It's very bad CGI to start.
Netflix original movies. I don't know. Is that Shark one on Netflix? I don't think.
I believe it's original. Yeah.
Okay. But Netflix original movies are such a great example of film Twitter is not real, and we're just such the minority of movie watchers because I've seen so many people shit talk how does Atlas have more views than Furiosa, and all the replies are always because no one wants to see Furiosa Atlas it's the most watched. It's Jennifer Lopez's latest movie. It's Jennifer Lopez, right?
I have not seen it. It's
a terrible Netflix original, but every tweet I've seen where people shit on it get ratioed in the comments. Maybe it'll be no, I actually watched Atlas.
My wife's friends genuinely were not going to go to the theaters to see Hitman, but they were like, "Oh, it's on Netflix. Yeah, I'll watch it. Sure, sounds good."
Yeah,
that's most people.
Some of my friends in the group chat
is not real.
some of my friends, like in my group chat, that like don't ever watch movies. They did watch Hitman, and a couple watch The Watchers, and people they liked Hitman. They did not like The Watchers, so kind of falls in line with what we would expect. But this is the third collaboration between Richard Linklater and Glenn Powell. I'm sure they'll be collaborating again in the future.
Put Glenn Powell in that 17-year movie. He's too
Merrily
old.
We Roll Along.
Yeah,
bro, that guy would be. He could.
Paul Mescal. I'm out on him. I'm all in on Glenn now.
That's silly. Stop being silly, Cameron.
Yeah.
Out on Paul and on Glenn. Why can't two kings coexist?
Yeah.
Why can't Jesper and Gary both be out on the street?
That's the funniest part of this movie is that like he cannot be on the street. It's only Glenn. It's like impossible for him.
And how like their job, they aren't like detectives. They're just like the undercover sting people. But then like when this uncovers to be like a murder plot, it's like, why aren't they actually just getting the actual detectives and stuff?
Yeah, like it's so
why are they
like,
still doing? Like, what should we do now? Should we go investigate her? I'm like, you guys aren't. You guys are like the.
You're not the guys here.
You're just like the actors they hired to get like coerce them.
I love it.
But yeah, I mean, there's also some interesting commentary and like coercion and stuff, and we kind of talked about that, like what Vitaly and like To Catch Fire people are doing. It's like, there's a lot of ethical dilemmas of like, trying to coerce people into it. Like, is that a real thing? But I think we're kind of done on Hitman. But Cam, you have to drop
off. Yep, it was fun reviewing Hitman, and also Everybody Wants Some is
that a mattress on the wall behind you?
Yeah, so that's like
I was gonna say the same thing.
I didn't even know
his basement is literally a storage facility for like Emma and I right now. That's why it's a mess, because it's also like a playroom for Bailey. So yeah, we actually put up a new bed for Bailey yesterday. Like we took him out of the crib and put him in a big boy bed. But with that, you basically have to like baby proof the entire room, because obviously he can get up at night and walk around. And so that mattress was just like hanging out in my old room where he sleeps. But now I had to bring it downstairs because I don't want it like falling on him, obviously. But Everybody Wants Some is like the best movie ever. That's my Richard Linklater ranking number one.
Is it actually number one?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. All right. I will see y'all.
Peace out. Have a good one. All right, but that's perfect transition to jumping into our Richard Linklater filmography run through. And obviously Cam left the pod, but if you just jumped out with the spoilers timestamp and you missed kind of what he said, he did say before he left, Everybody Wants Some is his number one Richard Linklater film, which is surprising me. Cam in 2024 has been an unpredictable little chicken.
I don't think that's surprising though. Watching the film, I think that's a very much a Cam.
Yeah, I don't think Hitman is surprising. It was funny before Challengers when you said that Cam would be on my side, and then Cam bumps out a 5-star.
For what? No, I was on about Everybody Wants Some.
Yeah, I didn't think Everybody Wants Some would be his number one of all time.
Really, I think that's a very much a Cam film.
Interesting.
It's a very good film. Don't get me wrong. But like,
I also don't know all of the ones he's watched. I think of the four of us, he might have watched the least. But
he just watched Before Midnight. I've just seen his review for that on Letterboxd. So
interesting. But yeah, we'll get into our Richard Linklater filmography run through now. So we're going to kind of just go in chronological order, and he has 26 total feature films. But we didn't watch them all.
Jesus.
Yeah, Richard Linklater kind of crazy work rate, but like quietly
a
crazy work rate.
Yeah,
like,
no. It's weird because I was looking. I was like, oh, he probably has like 15, And I was on Letterboxd. I was looking through him. I was like, Jesus, this man's done so many films I haven't even heard of. Like the one with like, obviously we'll get into it. The one with like Kate Blanchett for some reason. Never heard of it.
Yeah.
That's the one. There's a few that I've just not heard.
Last Flag Flying. Like if I saw that poster, I would have never in a million years be like, "That's a Richard Link."
I'd never heard of Bernie with Jack Black, and I should have watched that one, to be honest.
Bad News Bears is a movie I had on DVD and watched a million times growing up. Did not know it was a Richard Linklater remake.
He's done a lot more because he's like, how old's Richard? He's not old. He's like pretty. How old is he?
Well, he started pretty young, and he's been active a while, but he was a young guy.
This guy's 64.
Damn, he looks. I mean, he's like a relative.
He looks like, so good for 64.
He had a picture he posted where he was like sitting cross-legged, and like his calf, like he has some calf genetics. That dude's got some crazy calves. Yeah, so he'll be in his 80s when he finishes Merrily We Roll Along. That's crazy.
He looks fucking good for that old. I can't lie. Fair play.
But the thing with Richard Linklater is like he'll be cranking out probably 10 movies before that movie comes out. Like he's still going to be simultaneously working, which. Yeah, I'll talk about it when we get to the actual movie. But we're going to start with the movie that I didn't get to watch, but it's his debut that I'm going to be watching still this week. I have a lot of Linklaters that I didn't get to watch before this, but I'm still going to be planning on watching regardless. But it's impossible to learn to plow by reading books. So you two can get into this one because not like the farthest off of ratings, but pretty different opinions of the movie.
What?
So,
I liked it. So I didn't rate this because it's a very, very difficult one. Now, it's also one where it's it's non-narrative, it's experimental to the point where it's literally also it's made on like a shoestring budget. Like it was made very, very early on, like on pretty much nothing. I liked it because I think that it's that hangout style condensed to 85 minutes, and it is just traveling and kind of it was what I needed on that day. However, if this film caught me a different day, it's one that's very mood dependent. It's about traveling somewhere that will lead nowhere. About every mundane activity feeling the same. It's quite bleak, honestly, comparatively to some of his work, especially visually. So I liked it. We're not doing rankings now, are we? I don't want to say.
We'll do it at the very end. No.
Okay. So I liked it, but I don't have a rating on it because I find it really difficult to rate things like this. But it's also one where, again, it's literally non-narrative, experimental, so it's pretty much just images of traveling the whole way. But yeah, not really much to say. I thought it was cool, but not one that I'm going to, that I love by any means. It's not one of my favorites, that's all.
And George?
Yeah, it's tough to it's tough to put a rating on this, I'll admit, even though I did. I want to bring up Owen's review because I actually really like it. He loves this movie. He gives it a 4.5. He writes, you show a painting to somebody, they see nothing. Someone else sees a lot. That's what art is. Unfortunately, I saw nothing here. Seth used the word bleak, and that's kind of how I felt about the entire movie. The narrative was just a little too lazy. I don't think
I don't think there is a narrative though. I don't think
exactly. And there was just nothing I could latch onto. I'm sure this film is supposed to, inspire thought, but unfortunately nothing came to me while I was watching it. But again, the camera wasn't doing anything special. I don't think the images were like nothing anyone with a camera can't really capture. No offense, Richard. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. It was tough to sit through. It took me three times to sit through this because I kept just like, I don't know. I was waiting for some inspired thought to go on in my head, like anything, and just nothing ever came. And it just ended up being like this really like drowsy experience for me.
Fair enough. And yeah, it's I know Owen says it's like an essential Linklater film to watch, and
it's the Owen. I said this to Owen on 2K. It's literally the Owen pilled Richard Linklater film.
Yeah,
like it's 100%. Literally that.
100%.
It's the most Owen pilled Linklater you'll ever see in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very weird.
Because isn't that what Jerry pretty much is? Just two dudes walking.
It's quite Jerry-like. I'd argue. Yeah, I guess it is. Have you seen Jerry? No, George.
No,
I've seen Jerry, but I haven't seen.
Don't watch Jerry, George. Don't watch Jerry. You might like Jerry less. Honestly,
I would second that probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I liked it. Didn't love it by any means.
We jump from there to Slacker 2 years later, which I really loved. Slacker, which is odd because Richard Linklater, he's just such a great writer with his dialogue to where so many. I mean, a lot of his movies, like in the grander scheme of like life and like what it means to you, like kind of like are about nothing in terms of like it's just like one person's life over 24 hours, like. What this has, there's not much of a semblance of a plot. Like Slacker is literally just like one person walking into someone else's life who walks into another person's life and just kind of follow these people throughout Austin, Texas, which it starts out with Richard Linklater starting as like kind of in a taxi cab. Lots of long cuts where there's just like no cuts in the camera and just long dialogue. So a lot of like memorization, these long lines of these people just rambling about stuff that pretty much in every instance, the other people around them just don't really care to hear about. But a lot of funny bits. Like the dialogue just completely absorbed me, and I really enjoyed this one, honestly. Like, and it's again it's hard to put into words. It's just like it's surprising that I do like it so much because it is similar to like I remember I was watching like the Before trilogy, and Riley walked in while I was watching, and she's like, why the fuck do you care about people just like walking around talking about life? I'm like, yeah, it's a good point. I don't know, like, but I do love it though. Like, and Slacker's the same way, where it's really just like these really offbeat, on the edge of society type characters. Like I love the dude who was just like talking about all the conspiracy theories, the guy who was talking about like the JFK assassinations, a dude who like tried to act like he was like best friends with the band, but then didn't get on the list of the club. There's so many interesting characters that are such unique people. And I really enjoyed Slacker, but I think, I think both of you watched this too. So yeah. What are your thoughts on
So I
didn't watch
it.
Or George did not. Never mind. Just saw that on Letterboxd.
I've seen it. I think it's been about 18 months. But I think the Slacker is very similar to, I mean, all of Richard Linklater's work, but specifically like the Before Trilogy was a good example because it is literally watching people walk and talk. But I think the way it works so well, and I do like, again, not my favorite by any means, I won't give away where it is. I do like it. It's just I haven't got a rating on it because it's been 18 months or so, but maybe more, actually, maybe like 2.5 years. But I think it just flows really well. It feels like real life. There's no need for conflict. It just has this ongoing flowing thing where you can just sit and watch people speak, and it feels very natural and fluent and human more than anything. So I do like Slacker, actually. I think it's a really, really interesting film. Very early Linklater. I think this was this like early 90s?
Maybe 1990 on the nose.
Okay, 1990. Okay, yeah. It's very early Linklater. So not something I love by any means, but I do think it's a good film, and I think it's kind of that. Again, Before Trilogy is a perfect example. Just smooth, natural dialogue, very, very human, and interesting as well with the conspiracy theory stuff. I really like that guy who just went on about that. But yeah, I think it's cool.
Yep, and then we jump from there to 1993, which is one of, if not the very most popular Richard Linklater film. I'd say School of Rock and is between School of Rock and this, but Dazed and Confused. Obviously iconically the start of Matthew McConaughey's career, where he was supposed to have just like one line in the movie, but he was so dynamite on set, they kind of built the whole character around him. But yeah, Dazed and Confused takes place over 24 hours with a high school graduation, and you follow, these freshmen being initiated and bullied. You follow these seniors, and in Matthew McConaughey's case, like several years past being seniors, trying to adapt to the new life of freedom. You have people still in high school that like football and like sports coming up, and where the coach telling them you have to be straight and narrow, don't do anything bad. And obviously a time of rebellion where they're like, screw that, I'm going to do what I want to. Again, just like an ultimate vibes movie, kind of like on the Mount Rushmore of like most vibey movies of all time, where you just watch these high schoolers hang out and go through like the most weird stage of your life where everyone's in different spots. But I mean, I didn't watch it for the first time, but it like basically was. It's one of those where like I watched it like so many years ago where like before I turned this on to watch, I couldn't tell you anything other than just like, oh yeah, Matthew McConaughey will say, all right at some point in this movie. But other than that, I forgot everything else. So it's like almost like a new watch for me. But yeah, I really liked it. I won't spoil where it lands in my ranking, but it's definitely not like my highest of his films. I know for some people it's like peak Linklater, couldn't go any better than that. But I believe both of you two have seen Dazed and Confused. So what are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, one of those like just generational vibey movies. We've seen like so many of these play out with like American Graffiti and Animal House and like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But like Dazed and Confused has like, it's like the one from like those 80s, 90s era of high school filmmaking that has just stood the test of time, where like you could put it on and just everything just continues to be like somewhat relatable. Everything, the vibes continue to hit. It's such a good time following these characters. And it's so weird, I think, with Linklater's films where like a lot of times in film, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, maybe I'm just like poorly analyzing Linklater's writing right now, but a lot of times in films when like you don't like, when characters don't necessarily have like a true arc, or there's not a lot of like emotional attachment to these characters, you kind of like the movie falls flat. But for some reason with like Dazed and Confused, and we'll talk about like Everybody Wants Some, there's nothing like amazing. These aren't like incredibly written characters, but like the aesthetic that Linklater like pairs his characters with just makes them like so lovable and so much fun. You feel like they're also your best friends.
I agree. So I haven't watched this in about 2 years or so. I actually watched this a couple of times when I was younger. I really, really like this film. I'm sure I still love it now, but I have to get on kind of guess. But very similar to what George said. Like Tyler, you said, ultimate vibes film. It's again, is Linklater not installing like conflict or real development, just having likable people with charisma and like kind of going on these philosophical like rambles. And it's just, unapologetically Linklater's style. And it really works because he always gathers together these like really, really good ensembles that you just find a joy to watch, similar to like Everybody Wants Some, which obviously we'll go on to. Very, very much the same in terms of Dazed and Confused. Really great film. Even better soundtrack, if I remember. I think it's like an all-timer soundtrack, if memory serves me correctly. like just such 70s vibes. And so I really like it. It's been like 2 years. I do remember it. It's like it's not like been the longest time or anything. So I do have it ranked, but I do definitely need to rewatch it because when I was younger, I loved it even more so.
And we kind of just keep cooking right after that. 2 years later, he releases Before Sunrise, the beginning of the Before trilogy. Starts off with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy meeting on a train, traveling throughout Europe. They spend one evening together in Vienna, and they kind of this night they feel like it's kind of like a one-time thing. They meet, just gonna have a fun night. They're both traveling, not really sure what they're gonna do with their lives, both young, and see what blossoms from there. This is, not spoiling where it ranks in my Linklater ranking, but it's my favorite of the Before trilogy, at least, which I feel like Sunset's kind of like the unanimous number one, but I think they're all great. Like, I think the whole trilogy is so
the same rating. The first two are like 4.3. I think they're really high. So anyway, it's like go on. Sorry.
Dialogue is just crazy in this. Like, it's just, I get so absorbed and completely immersed in these worlds of philosophical ramblings, I guess you could call it, of these just two people that meet who don't know each other.
Just said that.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was locked into Alcaraz there, but maybe I subconsciously, subconsciously heard it. But yeah, so Before Sunrise is my favorite. It's just, you get a young Ethan Hawke, which I posted a video about. Like, if you're a young actor who's early in your career and you have a mustache, like Richard Linklater is just going to explode you to the moon. And Ethan Hawke, he also had some nice flow in this movie too. But the chemistry between these two, I think, is unmatched, and it's just so awesome to see their chemistry unfold over 3 separate movies across how many years total is this? Like 15 years total. So it's Before Midnight's 2013, so 20 years total, or no,
20 years,
18 total.
Yeah, 18. That makes sense.
Yeah, and you get to see such different phases. I feel like the most different phase would be Before Midnight, obviously, but it's so awesome to see these two characters develop and grow. And that's kind of, Richard Linklater's bags are movies that take place over 24 hours, or watching something unfold over decades, as we have in the Before trilogy, as we have in Boyhood, as we're going to have in Merrily We Roll Along, which is super interesting because that's like just the most opposite ends of the spectrum ever. He's like, I'm either going to give you a movie that takes place in 24 hours, or I'm going to give you a decade spanning
life.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the Before Sunrise. The whole Before trilogy, but yeah, Before Sunrise coming right after Dazed and Confused, also just kind of like crazy back to back, like of just some of the most vibey, incredible dialogue movies. But yeah, Before Sunrise, go for it.
Well, I was gonna say, I think this is gonna, a lot of these films, I feel like we'll be repeating ourselves because they all have this like unapologetic Linklater style. It's vibes. It's literally simply vibes, and that's what it is. And it's so good vibes. It's so, like, for lack of a better term, but it is just, it fits. If I was to say Linklater vibes, everyone who watches film knows, that's his thing. That's his style. I think the Before trilogy is one of the most, important looks at relationship at every aspect. And obviously we'll get on to Before Midnight. I think that's equally as important. Do I like his? I won't say that yet, but different stages of relationship, meeting people, developing, the importance of conversation, of connection. I think Julie Delpy and Ethan Hawke are just perfect together. Absolutely perfect. I think, again, to echo what Tyler said, the chemistry is just fantastic. I only recently went through these 18 months ago, so I watched the trilogy the first time. It's definitely one of my favorite trilogies ever, as far as I'm concerned. Definitely one of the best. Nothing feels forced. It's, a lack of cliche. It just feels so natural. And I think what helps the Before trilogy as well is just the locations. The different locations in each one, just sitting there watching people walk throughout these locations. I think it's such a interesting, and again, to say what I said earlier, philosophical look, and just watching them ramble about like pointless nonsense a lot of the time. It really, really help us believe in them and their relationship. So yeah, Before Sunrise, like, is fantastic. I won't spoil where it is, but I think it's great. Absolutely great. I think they all are. They're all fantastic.
Seth, can you rank these 3 Ethan Hawke performances for me? Before Sunrise, First Reformed, and Training Day?
Yeah. First Reformed, definitely first.
Very, very different performances, obviously. 3 very different performances.
Yeah, probably First Reformed, Before Sunrise, Training Day. But they're all...
I figured. Yeah,
I think Ethan Hawke is like just that fucking guy. I mean, he's also...
I'm looking at his filmography now. Like, even in like a... not a... I mean, The Black Phone was well received, but it's obviously not like a First Reformed or a Training Day.
Yeah, he's done films that aren't
fantastic in that movie. But no, I love Before Sunrise. Tyler kind of hit the nail on the head. Seth kind of hit the nail on the head. So there's not a lot for me to add. But yeah, Linklater is he's a king at, I don't even know how to describe it, enlightened dialogue, I guess, where just every single line of dialogue that comes out of these characters' mouth is just another bar. Every single line of dialogue that Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy spit out of their mouths, you could write like a 2-page like analysis on in like how this like pans out to the greater things in life and love and happiness and fate and shit like that. But Before Sunrise, everyone is very quick to obviously throw out the writing and the acting. I think it's also a beautiful looking movie. I think that Vienna landscape, it plays so well for these two, I don't want to call them like hopeless romantics, but just these two people brought together by fate. So I love Before Sunrise. I'm not going to harp on it too long because you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. Definitely up there, not only obviously in my Linklater ranking, but in just my overall romance rankings.
So
we jump a year later to Suburbia. Did either of you get to watch that?
Wait,
I did not know.
Suburbia. I feel like I've seen that.
The capital U.
Oh, I'm thinking of that one. I'm thinking of Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. I think you guys like Rear Window. Like, yeah, that's the one. My bad. I didn't see this one.
None of us saw Suburbia, and then 2 years later, the Newton Boys. Any of us get to that?
Bro, I've never heard of
what the fuck is that?
He has a deep filmography, man. 3 years after that,
I might have to go through it. You know,
Walking Life.
I've heard that's really good, but I haven't seen it. I've heard really good. But
the same year as Walking Life was Tape, and I think one.
Yes,
Tape.
I watched Tape. I did watch Tape.
Right, let's hear it.
Really interesting film. Really interesting film. I think it's so obviously it was a play. I've heard the play is actually a lot better. The play is actually meant to be really good. So it's basically Ethan Hawke, Robert Leonard, Uma Thurman. You know, two goats right there, Uma and Ethan. It's good. I think the dialogue is it's very much like a non-stop talky film, a very very play-like kind of that single setting. I think it works really well. It's actually darker than I anticipated as well, and kind of the relationships and stuff. And it's quite intense. I liked it. It's not one of my favorites by any means. There's a lot to take from it as well, more than I expected. So maybe I'll have to rewatch it as well. But Ethan Hawke, all three are really, really great in the film. I definitely liked it. It's another one that I hadn't heard of previously at all, and I watched the other day. But yeah, it's cool.
And 2 years after that, we get School of Rock, which I think I'd say it's between that and Dazed and Confused for what like the most like popular known Linklater film is. School of Rock probably has a more wide appeal, but Dazed and Confused is probably more like classic Linklater. But School of Rock, who wants to start with that one? Because I think
me.
It's like one of your favorites ever, right?
It's in my favorites list. I mean, that's like a list of 150 films. But yeah, I mean, I love School of Rock. It's School of Rock, very much like a formative seminal film for me when I was growing up. I used to like just sing that all the fucking time. And I think School of Rock, and I've rewatched it again the other day because I hadn't seen it in a couple of years. It's so good. It's full of so much heart. Really insightful kind of one-to-one interactions that Jack Black has with the students. Like each one has a different part, and it is literally just about unapologetically being yourself, and it's fine to do so. And I think Jack Black, this is just the perfect role for him. The perfect role, playing like this goofy, ridiculous mentor that is caring and human, but he's also funny and also careless with his own life and cares for others more than himself. I think this is fantastic. I think this is. I remember like when I got into film, probably when I was like late teens. I never knew this was like Linklater. I'd watched like Dazed and Confused, and I was like, oh, it makes sense. And I'd look back and I was like, oh, okay, he made School of Rock. I think School of Rock is fantastic. I think it's a really, really, really nice, really great film, and I think it's well, I won't say that. Yeah, I was going to say how I think of it in terms of comparatively to his other films, but yeah, really like it. I think it's fantastic, really good.
Yeah, I also believe School of Rock is like. I'm pretty sure, like so clearly, like Jack Black says that's his favorite film he's ever been in. The School of Rock. He loves that character, which is kind of crazy because like I've seen him in multiple interviews say it's his favorite film of his when like he did Tenacious D, which is like about his
Tenacious
band.
D. So
you think that would be his favorite when it's literally about?
Have you seen Tenacious D, Tyler?
Yeah, multiple times. It's a hilarious movie. Wild movie. I watched it. The first time I watched it was when I was way too young to watch it.
Yeah, same. I watched it with my dad like all the time.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
But School of Rock's awesome. Kind of like the classic, like similar to like Bad News Bears in terms of where it's like a movie like a lot of us watched growing up, or School of Rock more so. But it's like you don't realize, like you said, Seth, until you're like you're older and you start going through the filmographies. Like you're like, oh, that's Linklater. I just would have never put.
Yeah, I know.
Together. But it, like you said, it does make sense once you get there. But yeah, School of Rock is just an awesome, feel good, fun movie. Jack Black. I mean, it's his favorite movie he's done. He's kind of just at like the height of his powers. The perfect type of personality for
literally
role that he's in.
That's better. Like in my opinion, I don't. Can you picture anyone? I know it's easy to say now, looking back. Can you picture anyone else playing Dewey Finn? Like,
no,
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't happen to me. That's what
it goes. It's beyond Jack Black. The whole cast is just like such a perfectly
it's literally
movie. Like,
it's crazy.
If I were to rank like the greatest child acting performances, like 4 of them from this movie would be very high on my list.
It has to be up there. It's because I mean, they're all like a big group of kids, and them to be good is crazy. Like, there's a few standouts for me, but they're all like solid. It was really sad when what was his name passed away. Actually, wasn't it? Remind me. It was the drummer guy. Was it the drummer guy?
Yeah, I don't know his name.
Yeah, it was really sad actually. But yeah, it was such a perfectly cast film. Like Mike White, plays the real Ned Schneebly. He's such a funny guy.
He writes the White Lotus television show.
I did, yeah. I saw it. He also wrote. He was a co-writer on Nacho Libre with Jack Black as well, which is a funny film. Yeah. I really like it. I agree. Perfectly cast film. So good. So good.
And then a year after that, he revisits the Before trilogy, and that's when Before Sunset comes out, which I believe is both of your favorite movies of the Before trilogy. So I'll let you guys kind of tackle that one.
Before Sunrise is my favorite, not to spoil my ranking.
Oh, it is? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. They're so neck and neck. At the end of the day, what you'll see with my Linklater movies, like they're all so close in ratings. They're all so close in how much I love them. I probably, like, looking at my ranking, it's probably ranked like just which ones am I most likely to rewatch the most, which probably spoiled my number one, but that's kind of how I rank my Linklater films, just because of how closely all of them are. Before Sunset is amazing. I recently read that I'm gonna get these facts wrong because I'm actually kind of forgetting, but Linklater, like this is loosely based on something that actually happened to Richard Linklater, which is kind of like the most heartbreaking, I guess, like poor dude, thing that could like happen to you. You find your soulmate, you find the love of your life, and you see them once every 9 fucking years. That's got to be torturous. But yeah, he's continuing everything he brought out in Before Sunrise. But just like him in his career at this point, the characters in this movie they're significantly more mature. They're having significantly more mature conversations which I think is very reflective of like where Linklater is at in his career. He's just progressed so much as a filmmaker, and he's only in the year 2004 right now. So I think this movie kind of coincides well with just how much he's like amplified his dialogue and his writing and his character work. But yeah, I love this movie. It's so neck and neck with Before Sunrise. If you like Sunset more than Sunrise, don't take that personally. Obviously, they're both 5-star movies for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite. I think this has one of my favorite endings, maybe my favorite ending in any romance film specifically ever. When he's sat in the apartment.
The apartment,
and she's like dancing, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna miss your plane," and it just leaves you on that note, and he's establishing that he's not gonna leave her again. Just fucking perfect. Again, I'm gonna echo a lot of the sentiment. Well, I would echo a lot of the sentiment I said before Sunrise. I just like this one slightly more, in terms of the conversations that they have, kind of them reigniting that flame, that fire, and I love the introduction, when they see each other again. I just love that so much. So yeah, this is my favorite. I mean, again, doesn't really mean anything because I think they're all great in their own right, and they all offer something. And obviously, especially when Before Midnight comes around, it offers something even just significantly different as well, but significantly as important. So yeah, really, really great film. Love it.
Mm-hmm. And then we jump a year ahead to Bad News Bears, which of all the Linklater films, this is like the only one on my letterbox that like none of my mutuals have logged.
I don't know what this is.
It's a remake of a movie from like the 70s, I believe, with Billy Bob Thornton. Basically, he's kind of like a drunk Terminator, and then he starts coaching a baseball team. And it's a story we've seen a billion times. This is a remake of a movie that already exists called Bad News Bears, but very classic narrative of like a coach of a youth team who's just like kind of a loser, kind of like fumbling around life, and then uses like coaching youth and like getting them to start believing in themselves, loving themselves, and then as a result starts to do the same for himself. So very like cliche narrative, but just kind of one of those like remakes that just probably didn't really need to be made. I will say though, Greg Kinnear, he's in a lot of Linklater films, but he's like the evil coach in this, where he's like the coach of the big bad Yankees team that no one can beat, and like he's like the cocky dad of the star player who
is Greg Kinnear the dad in Little Miss Sunshine. Is that the right guy I'm thinking of?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I knew.
And he's like he's like a kind of like a similar role, honestly, in this, because he's like a dad who like his son, like all he cares about is his son's playing baseball, and like will get like just not like violent, but like verbally abusive. If he makes like a small mistake, he'll just start screaming at him, and like clearly just like only cares about his son being a successful baseball player. But Billy Bob Thornton, I like him in this role. I think he like I don't know, there's like a knock on Billy Bob Thornton, but he just kind of plays the role of like he's very believable as like a drunk loser who like doesn't have much going on in his life. Like I just kind of believed him in this role,
like in Bad Santa.
Yeah, it just kind of worked for him. He just looks like he could be a drinker, but yeah, it's one of the like a lot of movies, like why School of Rock works so well is you have kid performances that knock it out of the park, but the risk of having movies with a baseball team full of like 15 kids that are carrying the majority of the narrative, I don't think a single one of them delivers a good performance. So not like knocking kids for not being great actors, but when 90% of your movie has to be carried by their performances, it just doesn't turn out that great when it's not that great. But beyond that, it's just kind of like a shot for shot retelling of the original, which, again, if it was, I still give it a 3-star. Cause like I said on Twitter, when I like teased I was watching this, I've definitely seen this more than every other Linklater film combined. Cause I had this on DVD when I was a young lad and watched this over and over and over. So I've probably seen it like 30 times, honestly. Cause when I was just like, 8-year-old kid, you just play the same stuff. Like you never get bored of it. I had like 1 season of Family Guy and like 2 seasons of The Office on DVD. It wasn't even season 1. It was like season 8 of Family Guy and like season 3 and 4 of The Office. But it's like, who cares? I'll just rewatch those same seasons over and over. Life's so much better as a kid when you're so much more easily pleased. But yeah, Bad News Bears is fine. Like I think for most people it's going to be like a 1 or a 2-star, but for me, just the nostalgia brings it up to a 3. But from there, we jump a year forward to Fast Food Nation, which I watched. Have any of you else seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, interesting film for Linklater to tackle. Kind of like a really bizarre, crazy cast. Like Avril Lavigne has like a lead role in it. You have like Wilmer Valderrama in it as well. I'm trying to pull up like the whole cast list because I remember it was kind of crazy, but it just seemed like a really.
Did you see that, Tyler? By the way,
see what?
Carlos,
I did not.
The shot Carlos just hit.
I did not, but he's up 2-0 now.
Holy shit!
Nice. But Fast Food Nation just seems like Linklater, like we said, he's like in his 60s and is a fit guy, so it seems like he's probably pretty passionate about the fitness industry. So like this tackles fast food from a variety of angles. Obviously, as expected, it would tackle the people are just being fed slop, terrible food for them, unsanitary conditions for cheap. And it's kind of just like ruining people's health and ruining their lives.
Like MCU either, just for anyone
right?
listening.
No, slop like
McDonald's and shit.
Pretty patties or whatever SpongeBob episode was, where it's like the gray, just like goo that they just spray paint and turn into Krabby Patties. But then beyond that, it's also like a very central theme of this movie is like immigrants coming over and like companies like fast food companies or any other companies exploiting their labor, paying them cheaply, putting them in like very dangerous working conditions in order to make these burgers like dollar menus and things that actually exist. So clearly a film he was passionate about. Funny film cast wise, like I said, because this obviously was filmed in the middle of Boyhood and the entire Boyhood cast is in it. So just like you could tell they were probably just like working. He's like working on that. Like they were on set because Ethan Hawke's in it. Patricia Arquette's in it. Eller Coltrane, the main boys in it. The drunk that Patricia Arquette is her second husband in Boyhood's in it. Like, it's not just like the top billed Boyhood, it's like every Boyhood actor is in this movie. So it's just like definitely like Linklater was just filming Fast Food Nation, and probably one day he was like, shit, I have to go. Like, I forgot I had some Boyhood scheduling, and he's like, because they're only in it for like a scene. So I feel like he's just like on set with both one day. He's like, all right, we'll just throw you in this movie for a throwaway little side scene. But Glenn Powell is also in this movie. Paul Dano is also in this movie. So I mentioned my Letterboxd review. Fast Food Nation and Little Miss Sunshine came out in the same year, and both star Greg Kinnear and Paul Dano. And that just seems like it's begging to be like a trivia question at some point, where Paul Dano and Greg Kinnear starred in the same movie together, or like a movie together twice in the same year. But it's not my favorite. It's whatever. I think he was passionate about trying to make some statements about the fast food industry, the exploitative labor industry. But the movie either needed to be longer, or you just needed to either pick one thing to tackle, because it just ended up kind of being trying to do a lot and didn't achieve much. But yeah, I just thought it was funny how like literally like the whole Boyhood cast just like shows up for a scene. I'm like, oh, they must have just been chilling on set one day for Boyhood, and you just like, oh, I'll throw you in Fast Food Nation, which makes me wonder, like, are we just gonna see Paul Mescal like show up in a bunch of Linklater films for the next 20 years as a minor supporting role? He's like in the midst of a merrily we roll along, just like throw Paul Mescal in like a side thing. But we can then go in the same year as Fast Food Nation. Like, Linklater is such an underrated work rate. He has A Scanner Darkly that came out that same year. And I believe, have one of you seen that too?
George said he's saving off for ages.
It's like I said, it's not even logged or rated on Letterboxd for me. It's been so long since I've seen it, so
it's meant to be really good.
My thoughts would be very disingenuous. I know Doug just gave it like a 4.5 star.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's meant to be really good. I've seen a lot of people like it. Actually, I need to watch it.
He's definitely a director I'm motivated to get like the entire filmography ticked off on, so I'll get to it eventually. But at this point, we have nothing we can add to Scanner Darkly. 2 years later, me and Orson Welles. Have any of us seen that?
What the fuck? What is that, man? This guy makes so many films that I've not heard of, and that's crazy.
I think Tyler's just saying words.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I did see this. This one with Zac Efron. I look at this the other day. I've never seen this in my life.
Zac Efron. Never. This is 2008. So that's like High School Musical 1 days or something. Like, this is early.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Crazy. But then 3 years later, he has Bernie, which I hope you'd heard of. It's on. I think this is one of the few that's actually on streaming. It's on Max, I believe. This has Jack Black. So Richard Linklater is a big, Ethan Hawke's in like 5 of his films. Glenn Powell's in 3. Jack Black reunites with him here. Which makes sense. We see it all the time with directors, but it's just cool because a lot of these are just such likable guys, like Ethan Hawke, Glenn Powell, Jack Black. So like when you see him show up in another movie, you're like, hell yeah, they're working together again. But Bernie was one I was going to turn on because it's on streaming, so it's so accessible. Don't have to rent it or anything, but none of us have seen it, right?
It's got Matthew McConaughey in as well, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, reunited as well. I feel like they're overdue for a reuniting, because I feel like, am I like blanking, or has Matthew McConaughey been slack in the last couple of years?
He hasn't done much. Wow. Wow. Oh, he did The Gentleman. That was the last big film. That was 2019, by the way.
Is he washed?
Holy shit, what's he doing? He's just doing his environments. What a guy.
He's playing his bongo drums in Austin, Texas naked. Or something.
Oh, no, sorry. He was in Sing 2 in 2021. So shout out Sing 2.
Which he probably showed up on set for a day. He probably just
he's the main guy. He's
he is?
The lead.
I saw a funny picture. It was a tweet, and it basically said the Beatles cast if they took this movie seriously, and it was Ethan Hawke, Jack Black, McConaughey, and Glenn Powell.
That'd be crazy.
And throwing like Greg Kinnear as like the manager.
Just to point this out again, the last film that Matthew McConaughey was in that I gave over a 3 out of 5 is Interstellar. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Wow. Have you ever seen Mud?
That might have been before.
No, I know what that is.
Was before Interstellar.
Mud was before.
Was Mud before? No,
yeah,
2012.
Wow, I thought that was way more.
He did Wolf of Wall Street 2013, Dallas Buyers Club 2013, Interstellar 2014. He did do Kubo and Two Strings. I've heard that's really good. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not done much at all. At all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really
and you saying like you haven't rated anything above a 3 since Interstellar is not really a comment on his quality of work. It's a comment on almost his lack of work.
On nothing.
He hasn't been working.
The Gentleman, I think, is pretty well liked. I just think it's fine. but that's kind of it. Like in terms of like the ones that are notable. Because who the fuck is watching Sing 2? Out of choice. I'm sorry.
That doesn't have children or something.
Yeah. It doesn't have children. I'll let you off. Well, apparently a lot of people are because loads of people have logged it. So check out the Sing 2 lovers out there. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell Matthew McConaughey's up to. I know he's the Minister of Culture for the University of Texas, and
he does a lot. He does.
As a result, he just goes to every single basketball and football game, which it seems like he's living his best life. He just probably
shout out Matthew McConaughey, man. I like him. Big fan.
I mean, he's kind of like what a lot of like people in my position would be like a dream of, just like if you get uber rich one day, it's like, what are you gonna do? It's just like, I'm just gonna go to sporting events of the teams I like and just watch them and cheer for them.
He does a lot of work for Thingy as well, doesn't he? I'm just double checking this, bear with. He has like his own foundations and stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So he does like a lot outside.
Like he's keeping busy, just not with content.
Yeah, just not with film,
either
kind of
acting or producing or directing. Like I feel like he just seemed like the type of guy that I could see trying to do, like, I'm not saying to be good or bad or whatever, but I feel like he just seemed like the type of dude that I would expect him to try and make a directorial debut, like Pool Man with Chris Pine. But shout out Chris
Pine on his own Twitter account, on the Pool Man account, where it's literally just him. Bro, I need to see Pool Man ASAP, by the way.
I did too. Apparently it's on streaming now, so
he's so likable. Like
not streaming, but you can rent it. But I do want to see it. I'm very intrigued. So at this point, we're at Before Midnight, capping off the 18-year saga of the Before trilogy, kind of ending this phase of the relationships. So obviously before sunrise, we see them meet. Before sunset, we see them rekindle. And before midnight, they kind of have this whole life together. And I believe it's I'll talk to my local Greek correspondent, George. Are they in Greece in this movie? Is that where it is?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay. Greece. And he's kind of like a writer, and they're kind of doing they're living their lives together, but you can very much tell their minds and emotions and everything. It kind of seems like they're in separate boxes, and then the whole kind of movie unfolds with them trying to get back on the same page or decide to, end their chapters together here. So definitely like a very devastating film, probably the most devastating in the trilogy. A lot of tougher dialogue, a lot of very real dialogue, very real conversations, as the whole trilogy has been. But this is why this whole trilogy is kind of like the GOAT romance trilogy, because it feels so raw and real, and I feel like that's why it connects with so many people, and why it's also so hard to watch for so many people, because it's like when you start watching stuff that hits a little too close to home, you start being like a little uncomfortable. Not saying for everyone they go through something like the Before Sunrise and Sunset, but I think the Before Midnight for a lot of relationships that people have been in for like 20 plus years can probably be like the most relatable of the three, because that's when you get in the real conversations. Like you have kids, your parents, you have careers that are taking up a lot of your time, and you start to neglect, not like purposefully neglecting your partner or your wife or husband, but neglect, in terms of just like you're so focused on other ventures that you're not really devoting as much time to each other. And just a devastating, brutal film, and a great way to cap out the trilogy. Sad way to cap out the trilogy, but Before Midnight. What do you think?
I think Before Midnight is like, while not my favorite, I think it's the most important, because it's the most honest, it's the most reflective, it's the most vulnerable. It's the most relatable, as Tyler said. It's something that's so important to kind of showcase that as well. And it's one where, again, like I said, it's not my favorite, but it's one where I definitely get it because of the notions, and because it's again, I think the most important in that it shows this really raw and honest look at relationships, and look at something that a lot of people have experienced within that, and it's not all what we see in the first two films. It's not all fate and whatever. But I think it's a really, really important film, and a really great film. I think this is like the perfect cap off to the trilogy as well, instead of just doing a similar thing they did in 2, let's say, and just whatever. Really, really important, because I think he could have just gone a different way and kind of stuck to that kind of route. So really, really great film. Really great film.
And on top of everything you guys said, obviously it's like a very devastating portrait of love, and this is probably like the most realistically grounded of these three films. It feels like such a massive risk from like Linklater's perspective. Like it's such a complete change up of like vibes from the first two movies. The first two movies, it was just like fate bringing these two people together. they're realizing like maybe they're meant to be together, but maybe they can't be together. They're having these fantastic conversations. And now you come to the concluding movie in this trilogy, and you find yourself, I think it's like 20 something years from their first night in Vienna. And now they have this life together. So it's just a complete change up of like what they're talking about philosophically, what they're talking about in like the greater like picture of their life. It's not just conversations like in Before Sunrise where it's like, you know, what is love? What is fate? Are we meant to be together? Now they're however old they are in this movie, and they're talking about like real life things that a true couple that like they need to figure out. So like Tyler and Seth said, it like the two of you said, it hits very close to home for anyone who's been in a very long-term relationship, but also from like I can't imagine having seen this movie and like been following this trilogy for 2 decades, and then to get to Before Midnight and it's just this complete vibe change. It's you know, it feels maybe a little less hopeful, it's a little more real and raw. So it was probably such a crazy experience, like watching this in theaters expecting something maybe a little closer to Sunrise and Sunset, when in reality now we find ourselves 20 years on from their first night in Vienna, and they're having like significantly more mature topics of conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just such a relatable trilogy because I feel like so many people, and I'm not saying like I fall into this category because I mean, I've been in a relationship for what is it, over 3 years now. So like obviously not 20 years like this trilogy has, but I think it's so relatable for people who have been in those situations because so many people feel like their relationships start out like a Before Sunrise and Sunset where, you know, not talking about like the gap of seeing each other and crossing paths and the fate, but in terms of when you start being together, you're like, man, we were meant to be together. We're soulmates. We're perfect for each other. Like I'm never going to take this for granted ever because I found my perfect person that I've been searching for and fate brought us together. Like life's going to be on easy street forever. And then Before Midnight, like you kind of said, George, is like a risk because it just kind of pulls the rug out from under you and be like, no matter how perfect things are when you start out and no matter how in tune and in sync you think you are with your soulmate, like life happens, families happen, people mature and change and you go separate ways, you have careers and like it's you have very real confrontations you're gonna have to have, and it's a tough trilogy for sure, but I love the trilogy and it's one of the great works of anyone over the past 50 years of making this trilogy come together. And Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, I don't think you could really have two better people together on the screen delivering this trilogy to us. But speaking of decade spanning, right after this, a year later, he comes out with Boyhood, which was a 12-year epic with also Ethan Hawke, but with Patricia Arquette being his ex-lover in this movie. They have Ella Coltrane as kind of the lead actor, and then his sister is played by Lorelei Linklater, Richard Linklater's daughter, so that's pretty cool. But Boyhood, I love Boyhood. It connected with me immediately when I first saw it. Definitely one of those movies that I feel like if you don't feel like you connect with it, it might not be everyone's cup of tea. But for me, I absolutely connected with it, and it is my cup of tea. Seen it multiple times. Love it. One of my favorite movies ever. But that's never been any surprise to anyone. I've always been very vocal about my Boyhood love. But yeah, this movie just hit me like a ton of bricks when I first watched it when it came out back in 2014. And I've been revisiting ever since. Like the first year I had it, like I bought it on DVD for my mom and dad. I was like, this is like a gift I'll give to you guys. Just love Boyhood, love this movie. Think again, just like all of Richard Linklater's films, the dialogue just gets me every time. I just get so absorbed into it. And then Ethan Hawke, I just think it's just so fun seeing him show up in Linklater films because Ethan Hawke and Linklater together. Like I know we mentioned, First Reformed I haven't seen, but obviously everyone says he's great. Training Day is great. He's had plenty of great films. He's also obviously had stinkers as well, but nothing to me really compares to when he's in a Linklater film. Just the vibes together are unmatched. But I know Seth hasn't seen it. George, you have seen it, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very high on my like coming of age rankings. It's like one of those films where it's like, how do you not love this movie, especially if you're such a fan of coming of age? Like this is like the quintessential coming of age movie. It is literally Richard Linklater. Just I don't even know how to describe it, but like every filmmaker has like that film that it felt like they were born to make that film. Boyhood is that movie where it's spanning 12 years with the exact same cast, watching them grow up. He could have easily made this movie in 3 months and just kind of like pulled like a Moonlight where he like recasts everyone at different stages of their life, but it was a creative decision that I think paid off just incredibly. It just makes everything feel significantly more personal. You're able to attach to these characters in a much more like impactful way. It is so good. The original song Hero, I remember, used to be like one of my most listened to songs ever. Like, I don't wanna be your hero. Like, it's so good. Yeah, that's my voice, guys. Cool. Appreciate the compliments. Thanks for all the comments. But yeah, I love Boyhood. I don't want to like spoil my rankings, but like it's crazy that like I have Boyhood at a 4.5, and this falls in the back half of my Linklater rankings. That's like how much I love this man. But I think this is a fantastic film. One of the most important coming of age films out there. He's doing that 17-year-long film with Paul Mescal, which is like my most anticipated movie ever now. And I'm very excited.
Yeah, for real. We're going to cover that on the ReelTok, yeah?
Like, yeah, hell yeah. If we're not full-time podcasters by then we're
yeah, I'm sorry.
We might be washed. But yeah, love Boyhood. Richard Linklater, like it's such a fascinating like artistic exercise too. Like huge risk to do the same exact cast. Like he's not even talking about like if someone like unexpectedly like dies. I mean like if someone just decides they don't want to do it, or there's conflicts, or like because obviously like Arquette and Hawke were established actors before this, so they're going to be in it for whatever their contracts are probably ironclad, and they just want to be in it in general. But like when you start with like, and obviously like the sister is his daughter, so like pretty easy to keep her in the movie. But like Eller Coltrane starting off when you're just a young kid all the way up until you're a young 20-year-old, like just a risk to go after someone
so weird
and carry that on. And from the production, it sounds like there was a lot of back and forth. Like they kind of mirrored his personality to what like the actual actor was growing up like, because he kind of by the time he goes out to college, he's like the kind of like fringe, like hipster, like kind of like against the system type of person who wants to kind of like smoke weed and like burn everything down, burn society and like the political world down, and kind of mirrors like how Eller Coltrane was growing up as well. But man, that final scene like of them like out in the canyons together, like on college campus, just hits me like a ton of bricks. Like where he just finally is on his own and he grew up and he's off at college. Just great movie. And like George said, just one of the quintessential coming of age movies of all time. And now he's going back to do Merry We Roll Along, which isn't coming. I don't know if it's coming of age, but I know it's a musical. And it's over 18 or whatever years. So he's going for an even longer production year. And that he invested in the Paul Mescal stock when he was very well known in the film world, but not very well known in the public sphere. So might have been we'll see if that was a good investment to invest early on in that. And who knows, by the time that movie comes out, Paul Mescal could be like the Matthew McConaughey of 2013, where he's like, hell yeah, this is a great investment. Or Paul Mescal could be not in any movies anymore. And he's like, well, fuck, 18-year investment down the drain. But yeah, crazy that Linklater's going to be in his 80s when this comes out, because he just does not look, that just doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
but 2 years after this, we kind of go back to the quintessential Linklater vibes of, they call it, he calls this himself a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused. And we have Everybody Wants Some. Dazed and Confused obviously being a high school film of people graduating and freshmen and seniors and all the different stages of high school. And now Everybody Wants Some, a similar flavor, but now we're in college. You have freshmen coming in. You have kind of more seasoned sophomores, juniors, seniors. They're all baseball players, doing the classic college athlete kind of thing, trying to pick up girls, trying to win games of baseball, trying to just do as little classwork as possible, just have as much fun as possible. So Everybody Wants Some. I will start with Seth on this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I watched this yesterday, so I'm fresh off the bat. Fresh. Really liked it. Really good. Again, it's going to be very similar to what I've said for Dazed and Confused and every other fucking film. Very much signature Linklater style, where like I think I said in my review, just vibes just dominate the whole. I think again similar to like Dazed and Confused, he just assembles such a great ensemble of people. It literally is like the whole thing is like you're just a spectator. You just sat there with like friends, just amid the camaraderie, the jokes, the ridiculousness, and I think that's really, really hard to achieve as a filmmaker. And I think that's just Linklater as an absolute T. I think he just nails it in terms of having the viewer just soak in every ounce of energy. I think this is exactly that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, really great. I think, probably most of what I'm going to say is just exactly the same as I've said for previous films. It just exudes enthusiasm, joy, and I really, really liked it. I think it's a really, really great film.
George?
It's so good. It's so good. It is. How long is it? It's like not even 2 hours. It's 2 hours. It's an hour and 56 minutes. Not a minute is wasted. It's just
really not a minute wasted because it starts. Literally. There's no like build up. It starts like 30 seconds in.
Right there. Like, starts. He's in the car. He's going to college. Once he gets to his house, you're introduced to all these characters, and from then on, it is just nonstop good vibes with characters you can call your friends. Like Seth said, you truly just you feel like you're there. You feel like you're a spectator, and you're just sat at a bar with these homies just listening to them shoot their shit. And like I know everyone jokes and says like, this is just the guys being dudes movie. It's exactly what it is. That is 100% what this movie is. And every single dude I think can watch this movie and relate to it and be like, yeah, I have that group of friends that I can literally just hang out with nonstop. We can go to a bar and drink and talk about absolute nonsense. There was one time in college, I was with my buzz. We weren't at a bar, but we were in my townhouse, and we had probably a 45-minute long conversation on whether or not we could kill someone with an umbrella. Those are an umbrella.
Yeah, I have that shit. Yeah.
Those are just like the dumb conversations we have when we're all together. We just talk about stupid shit. And this movie it captured just that essence of just a group of college friends. Just better than any film I've ever seen. I think it is so good. They are just, sex crazed college freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors. The seniors are acting tough. And they're being like the douches because they're like the long time people on the team. The freshmen are just there. They're trying to like break into the crowd, and by the end of the movie, they're all just fucking boys. And it's awesome. It's awesome. I love this movie so much. It's so good. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is just like a quintessential college film because, like, again, like especially my junior year when I lived in an apartment, a 4-bedroom apartment with 6 guys total. So many of those nights we would just be like in the living room talking about the stupidest stuff that, like, for no reason we would like get like mad over. Like, would usually end up like yelling arguments. Is like,
dude, I remember one night one of my best friends, his family has a beach house down on the Jersey Shore. So one night we were all there, me and like my core group of like 7-8 friends from college. We were having a good night. We were drinking. We're not big like going outers. So like us going out is really just like drinking in a house or one of our apartments and just like whatever, playing drinking games, watching a movie, talking shit. It's like 3 a.m. and I'm sleeping. I wake up to 3 of my friends literally having a shouting match on whether or not they could complete a pass in the NBA.
The NBA?
Yeah.
If I have Wembanyama on my team, that's easy. Just throw it up. He's catching it.
But they were like, and they're very good basketball players. So it was just like the funniest conversation to wake up to at 3 a.m. But like, that's the stupid shit that like dudes just talk about that this movie captures so brilliantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the main character, Jake, he's the freshman that this kind of follows mainly. I love his kind of just like blindness to like societal like cults in terms of like he's on the baseball team, which are like the cool guys, but then he sees like his friend from high school who clearly now is like kind of like the goth metal scene, but he like doesn't even bat an eye. He's just like, "What's up, man? Like, yeah, let's hang out." And then I love how like Glenn Powell's character goes along with that and like is the same way. Like he's like, "Hell yeah, we got nothing to do. Let's hang out." Whereas like you can tell like the typical reaction you expect from like the jocks is to be like, "Dude, these guys are fucking weird. We're not hanging out with them." But I just love how Glenn Powell was always just down to do whatever and was just always down for. He's like, "We got nothing else to do. Why not? Let's hang out." And then just ultimate feel good vibes. I don't think you ever see them play baseball in a game, but you obviously see the practices and
they just
them getting taped to the outfield and just a fun time. Like,
dude, like Wyatt Russell's character when they're like, dude, he was 40 I lose it. Like, that's so fucking funny. Like,
I like his character a lot. I like him a lot. I didn't, when he came on, when he was, I just realized what I remember from. It's that Black Mirror episode, isn't it?
Yeah. The scary one with the video game.
Yeah, the game one. Yeah.
I
liked
that
him a lot.
episode. I like him a lot. Yeah.
It was really funny.
From there, I think we go back to back. Maybe the first time back to back in a filmography where neither of us have seen any of his movies, because he goes 2017, Last Flag Flying, 2019, Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Don't think we've seen any of those.
I saw. I'm pretty sure it was Kevin K. Meeks, our good friend. He like tweeted. He was like, "I'm going through like the Linklater filmography. Do I need to watch Where'd You Go, Bernadette?" And like a couple replies were like, "Nah."
Yeah, I've heard it's just like fine, just whatever.
Yeah,
that's kind of the vibe I get from it. I've heard Last Flag Flying is pretty good from some people. I've heard that's actually quite a good one, so I might have to watch that.
Cast's pretty crazy. You got Steve Carell. Who are those other two in the picture?
Oh, Bryan Cranston. Yeah, Lawrence. Wow, it's actually kind of cool. Yeah, top 3 is crazy.
But that brings us to 2021 when Apollo 10.5 came out, and I don't think we've obviously I think our podcast happened before this movie came out, right? But I feel like George and I feel like we've just talked about this on the pod. Maybe it was like you come out 2022, so maybe like when we were doing our end of year discussions of like favorite movies.
I don't think it was 2022 because I would have watched it. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was.
Maybe we talked about Netflix, or I just swear we've talked about it.
Probably just spoken. It was 2022.
Okay, I think we didn't. We might not talk about when it came out, but like when we did our end of year like rankings and stuff. Yeah. But I actually think I think Glenn Powell is one of the. He has a voice actor in this, so I guess they've been together 4 times. Because first was Fast Food Nation, where he was like literally just a kid, like not really in it, but So Apollo 10.5, again, like I talked about when we were talking about the surprising thing about Hitman not being based in Texas is. Apollo 10.5 is a very like quintessential Texas film during the space race. Again, quintessential coming of age. Like Connor's Linklater firing on all the similar beats that he's so great at, but this time it's animated, which is new for him. Unless I'm being very misled by movie posters, the ones I haven't seen. But this has got to be. Oh, Scanner Darkly is. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. That definitely is. So kind of goes back to that for the first time in a long time. But yeah, interesting little movie, Netflix original. Which kind of makes it's interesting that he did a Netflix original of his last movie right before Hitman, and then like because Netflix bought Hitman like at like the 11th hour, like that was like that went like unsold for a long time, and then Netflix swooped in. So it's kind of interesting that like he just did a project with Netflix the year prior, talking about like because 2023 was when Hitman was being up for sale, and they didn't swoop in right away.
Yeah,
but yeah, I really like Paul 10.5 and George. I'm pretty sure the same way, just very solid coming of age film.
Yeah, really. There's nothing like earth shattering here, especially in like the grand picture of Richard's filmography. But I like it. It's a really cute watch. I like that it's just a constant narration of this little 10-year-old throughout the space race. Linklater is like just so good at like capturing the vibes of the 60s and early 70s. And obviously he shines with like his coming of age narrative. I think it's fantastic. But yeah, there's nothing really to talk about. I think you'll see it kind of falls close to the bottom of my Linklater filmography, but I still really like it. Definitely one of my higher rated animated films of this decade.
Well, that's a perfect transition because now we are going to talk about our Richard Linklater rankings because obviously the next film after that was Hitman. So Richard Linklater ranked. So how many do you guys each have? I have 12.
I have 10. I think George has 11. Oh no, George has 11, but he has 10. But you have 11. You have 11.
You're kind of Scanner Darkly, right?
Yeah, but I'm
not. You have 10.
Well, so however many you have, all the way down to 6, we'll go through, and then we'll do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we'll start with Seth. Whatever, 11. I think you said 11 through 6. What's your rank?
10. My 10 is it's impossible to learn to plow by reading books. That's such a long title. Jesus Christ. I should have drafted that in our long title.
Yeah, long time.
My rating is a heart. No idea where I'd put it. I liked it. It should be noted as well. I like all of these films. Quite a bit. My 9 is Slacker. Again, unrated. Been a couple of years since I've seen it. My 8 is Tape. I'd say 3.5. My 7, big jump up here. Everybody Wants Some. That's a 4. And my 6 is Before Midnight. So that's a 4.
George?
My number 10, similarly to Seth, it's impossible to learn to plow by reading books. My number 9 is Apollo 10.5 at a 4-star. My number 8 is Dazed and Confused at a 4-star. Now we're getting into my 4.5s. I have Before Midnight at number 7 and Boyhood at number 6.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we all have quite different rankings, but like we've all kind of been saying, Linklater is just so many of his films are so similar in quality that it's like I wouldn't really bat an eye at most rankings of these. My number 12 is Fast Food Nation at 2.5. 11 is Bad News Bears at 3. 10 is Hitman at 3.5. 9 is Apollo 10.5 at 4. God, now we're getting so many halves and numbers mixing. Apollo 10.5 is a 4 at number 9. Number 8 is School of Rock at 4. 7 is Dazed and Confused at 4. And 6 is Everybody Wants Some at 4. So now, Seth, what's your number 5?
Are we just saying 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. My 5 is, I think, Hitman at a 4.5.
Georgios.
My 5 at a 4.5 is School of Rock.
My 5 at a 4 is Before Sunset. Now number 4, Seth.
My 4 is Dazed and Confused. Now, interesting. I think it would be a 4.5, but it's not been that long. I remember Dazed and Confused very well, but I still need to rewatch it. But I used to love Dazed and Confused, so I'm going to go with it. It's only been like 2 years.
Okay.
I'm going to say a 4.5, Dazed and Confused at 4.
All of my top 4 are 5 stars. My number 4, I have Before Sunset.
Sorry, I was just laughing because I was just remembering back to our drafting at the beginning of the episode where George was like clowning Seth, saying the first pick of the draft for Cam's baby name is so obvious, and then he says George. Like, how would we have ever thought George would be the obvious first thing? I don't know why that just.
That's such an obvious baby name. Like, come on.
My number 4 at 4 stars is Slacker. Really like Slacker.
Wow.
Seth, number 3.
My number 3 is Before Sunrise. That's a 4.5.
My number 3, admittedly, maybe a bit of recency bias, but I've seen it 3 times and I've loved it every single time. I got Hitman, also a 5 out of 5.
My number 3 is 4 stars for Before Midnight. And then now we'll do our 2 and 1.
My 2 is School of Rock, a 4.5. My 1 is Before Sunset, reaching that 5-star rating.
My number 2 is Before Sunrise, and my number 1 is Everybody Wants Some.
My number 2 these are both 5 stars. Number 2 is Before Sunrise, and number 1 is Boyhood. So there's our rankings of Richard Linklater's filmography. Obviously, none of us are even at the halfway point of getting through his filmography. So
yeah,
we got work to
I've
do.
got 4.5 or higher. So I feel like that's like, if I'm comparing to other directors, that's like really
7.
high. Jesus.
I have 3 4.5s and 4 5s. And Dazed and Confused on rewatch will probably be a 4.5.
Yeah. The thing about Linklater is like at 12 is 2.5 for me, and then 11 is a 3 stars. So Bad News Bears and Fast Food Nation, like especially 2.5, you could call like a bad or like mid rating, but like I didn't not enjoy a single second of that movie. Like I was still like in it and engaged the whole time. It's hard to like critique him almost because like I just love the vibes of his movie so much. But
I don't know if I've realized how much I like him. You know, like whenever I talk about my favorite directors, I
feel like I've never heard you bring him up, but now it's like a light bulb episode.
Yeah,
because it's like, even though I've like, you know, I think it's because when I go for a lot of directors that I like, I'll like run through them in the same period. But with Linklater, it's kind of like dotted around. I've just watched. I'm not really put it together. But now I'm looking. There's, 5 films at 4.5 or higher is really fucking good. Like crazy really good. And I've not even watched all his films, so
he's got crazy consistency. He's like Nolan is my 1, obviously, but like 2, 3, and 4, Denis, Linklater, and Spielberg, and it's like interchangeable for me, I think. But honestly, like I have the Linklater ranking open on my laptop and just looking at these movies like all together, like this might be my number 2.
He's better than Midberg. He's better.
Okay, well, he's better than
Stanley Midberg. Yeah.
And he's better than the Russo brothers, Cam. Just to add Cam
for sure.
No, he's not. Let's chill.
Blows Guadagnino out of the water. That's not even a close argument.
Yeah, I need to see. Richard
I would have it over Guadagnino.
Yeah, give me Linklater's Challengers, and maybe it'll be a good movie.
No, give me Linklater's Avengers. It would just be like them walking around Avengers.
That would be good. Just
Yeah.
them chilling. That'd be fun. I like that.
It would just be Peter Parker, a coming of age story. You wouldn't even see him as Spider-Man. It would just be him, just in high school.
Yeah. But the rest of the episode we'll go through a lot quicker than that because that was the bulk of our episode, the Richard Linklater special. But now we'll talk about Bad Boys Ride or Die. George and I are the only two who saw it, right? Yep.
I was gonna ask, is there any chance you guys want to go over the major news pieces first? Because I do have a meeting in 20 minutes.
Yeah, let's do that because then George and I can do Watchers and Bad Boys.
Because I didn't even get a chance to see them. I've got like another 10 minutes I can stay on. So if you want to cover some like big news,
that's a good call. Good audible. I'll go for. I have to pull up my like computer's like crashing right now, but like it's still recording and everything. But I can't like open any tabs right now, so I'm gonna have to pull up the rundown on my phone real quick. But all right, we got it. Yes. Okay. So got some new. Most of this news just like reading off, not really much to discuss about. But there's a new Hunger Games movie coming. So it was announced that there's a new Hunger Games book coming, and then like 30 minutes later, it was announced that a movie's.
When's that ever happened? You know, same time.
Yeah, crazy. Well, because I remember I think I was the only one who saw the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I remember like at like the premiere, the IMAX like fan first screening, or whatever they showed like live from the red carpet before it, and they asked him like, "Is there going to be ever any more Hunger Games movies?" And basically they said like, if Suzanne Collins writes another book, we'll be making another movie. So it seemed like it was kind of like the studio was good to greenlight anything she writes, and fans like even from the very first Hunger Games when you first introduced to Haymitch, everyone was kind of like, we want to see his Hunger Games, the 50th, the second quarter quell.
Is that Woody Harrelson's character? Is that him?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the amount of tweets I have seen, fan cast tweets, joking fan cast tweets of Ellen DeGeneres has been insane.
That's funny.
Insane. I have seen that same tweet. Like people got to get a different sense of humor. That same tweet 15 times.
Yeah, but that is like the big question because like Woody Harrelson's such a hard character to capture that aura of. So casting a young version of him is gonna be crazy to see who they pick. But I'm really excited for this. I was a fan of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I remember shout out Sophie. You know, we are shout out K Meeks. We are shout out Owen. We'll shout out some more of our friends in the movie sphere. Sophie and I like we're watching it simultaneously at like the early screening, and immediately after we were just like firing texts away each other like, oh my god, that was so good. We had such a good time. So big fan of that. Excited to see this one coming in theaters in November 20th, 2026. The book comes out, I think, a little over a year earlier. It's in 2025. Then we have the 4 Beatles biopics are going to star Harris Dickinson as John Lennon, Paul Mescal as Paul McCartney, Barry Keoghan as Ringo Starr, and Charlie Rowe as George Harrison. I'm just not interested in these movies.
Is this a cinematic universe? Like, are we getting one movie for each of them and then a 5th movie of them together?
I don't know about the
5th movie. These just feel like the most like someone commented on my video says it. I said on my video it's like the most uninspired. I mean, I don't really care about the films anyway, but these are the most uninspired choices ever. And someone was like, this is literally like a Twitter fan cast. This is literally what it is. Like they've just taken the most popular white actors around that age right now and been like, oh,
except Charlie Rowe.
Except him, yeah, of course. But like Barry Keoghan and especially as shown, he can't really do a Scouse accent. So it's kind of, I don't know why. It's a weird choice for me. The only one I will say, I think Paul Mescal's all right as Paul McCartney. I think that kind of works.
Well, I was laughing because I was picturing the casting directors like, all right, who's gonna play Paul McCartney? Let me get some reference. Let me type in Paul McCartney, Paul M. Oh, shit, Paul Mescal. It's like my job's done. They're like Bill.
Have you seen like side by side though? They're like, it's like okay. They're the one where I'm like, okay, that's better. And he is great, but it just feels like such a boring. It's just boring choices, you know. It's just like, oh, who's popular on it? Let's go with that.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people. Are not fans of Sam Mendes. Like I know the Looks Like a Movie Pod are not fans of him, but the reason I'm not interested has nothing to do with Sam Mendes. It's just like for me, like I'm just not interested in the Beatles, the biopics about them individually. Like just nothing about this sounds interesting to me.
Well,
like,
I think it's just music. It's just music biopics, isn't it? It's the issue. I am quite interested because I think the lives are just really interesting, but I think it's such a fucking risk. Like I'm not as interested as I would prefer just like a general, Beatles one rather than 4. Yeah. I think it's
this
really
seems like perfect for a limited series. Just give me 5 episodes. Every episode.
Yeah, but I wouldn't watch a series though.
I'm not watching the movies either.
You will watch the film. You will watch the film. Everyone will.
I don't know if they've announced what like the release schedule is going to look like for these.
2026. Oh wait, no. Well, I think they said the first one was meant to come out in 2026. So that might be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, like George was saying about the cinematic universe, I wonder how much are they going to have like Paul Mescal and the Paul McCartney biopic hang out with like Barry Keoghan's Ringo Starr? Like, how are they going to do?
Is like the end credits scene of like the John Lennon biopic is going to be like Paul McCartney ringing his doorbell and the door just opens and you see Paul Mescal and then it cuts to black.
Have you seen everyone like saying that like Sophia Coppola should come in and direct like Yoko Ono's biopic as well? It's like, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how this is going to work. I haven't got much faith. And again, that's not Sam Mendes related. That's just anyone could direct. Well, give me Linklater actually. Maybe I'd have a bit more faith. But it's a very weird choice to do anyway. Very risky.
Should have cast the ReelTok boys.
True.
Yeah. Then we have Wes Anderson's next movie, The Phoenician Scheme. The cast has kind of been finalized with Riz Ahmed, Bill Murray, Michael Cera, Willem Dafoe, Rupert Friend. I don't know, Benicio del Toro, Scarlett Johansson, and Benedict Cumberbatch. So
simply a crazy cast. And the budget will be like $5 million, and I'll be like, how the fuck are you getting everyone like that? It's like he has such a cool relationship with these actors. I'm hoping we'll get to see my friend Dev in one of his films because he was so good in the I can't remember what it was called now. But Riz Ahmed's a really, really cool casting. I really like that a lot.
Dev, I didn't even realize Monkey Man is out streaming now. I want to rewatch that. Random thought.
Yeah.
It's not on Netflix. Is that who picked it up or no?
Is it? It's on Prime.
Prime. Okay.
I think it's on Prime.
But yeah, great cast. Riz Ahmed and Michael Cera, kind of the newcomers here, and then you have Bill Murray, obviously long time work together. Willem Dafoe, long time work together, and then Benedict Cumberbatch, newcomer in terms of films because he was in those Roald Dahl shorts that also Dev was in that we want to see Dev in a feature film. But a fun cast is like something old, something new, something borrowed. Whatever that saying is for marriages is kind of Wes Anderson cast at this point.
Something blue. That's the end of it.
Yeah, it is something new.
You need to get like a Smurf in it or something. That'd be crazy. And then we're like,
or Avatar.
Crossover. Or Avatar, yeah. We'll get one of those. That'd be crazy.
Wes Anderson's Avatar is crazy because James Cameron's always talking about finding the next director to carry it on. That'd be
there you go. There's the scoop.
All right, and then Lionsgate says that they think Michael Jackson biopic will be the biggest movie they've ever made. So I figured since we did the box office predictions of the Avatar, we should try and predict our number for what we all think the money.
Yeah, I don't agree with you here, Tyler. I think this will be the highest grossing musical biopic ever.
Sorry. What movie?
Michael
Jackson. Michael Jackson transcends pop star. Just his name alone, he's the biggest pop star to ever live. And
when they inevitably just completely gloss over like his controversy, I'm gonna give this movie a half star.
That's every biopic, though. No biopic ever talked about controversy.
This will be okay. This is my prediction: the Michael Jackson musical biopic. Yeah, I'll give you both. The Michael Jackson. I'm doing it for clips, so you can so I can say it. The Michael Jackson biopic will be the highest-grossing music biopic ever, and it will gross upwards of 1.5 billion. That's my prediction.
1.5. So just for the people listening,
around that.
Most successful musical biopic right now is Bohemian Rhapsody, right at 900 million. And then Lionsgate's highest grossing film ever is The Catching Fire at 875 million. So by Lionsgate saying it'll be the biggest and people saying it'll be the biggest musical biopic, think around like the basically $1 billion mark. It's kind of what people are saying. Like,
if you get $1 billion, it's what's the most successful biopic? Is that Oppenheimer? Maybe. Well, actually, I think it'll beat Oppenheimer because Oppenheimer was like what 1.1 ish.
No,
I don't.
It was like ended like 9.
No, it was like 912.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
once they Bohemian Rhapsody is the highest. What was Bohemian Rhapsody? Sorry,
900. Yep, 900.
Oh, okay. So so it will. Well, my prediction is that it will be the highest grossing biopic. Just full stop. Then maybe maybe 1.25. 1.25 is 1.5. I think it'll comfortably hit billion anyway. Definitely.
Yeah, musical biopics are interesting because 900 million is the most with Bohemian Rhapsody, and the number 2 is Elvis at 228 million. So like Bohemian Rhapsody was a huge outlier, and then right after that, Straight Outta Compton, it was 200 million. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm saying nothing about Michael Jackson. Obviously, he's like the biggest pop star to ever pop. Never stop, never stopping. But I just don't know if the movie going audience is there like these days. I'm just worried about the box office.
It's just the generations this captures. It's Michael Jackson. You know, I know it's easy to say that, and I could be wrong, but it's like Michael Jackson is like, you know, just it's another level. I can't see this not doing well. It's just the name.
If there's one artist whose biopic would break Bohemian Rhapsody's record, it's Michael Jackson. I am going to float out or Taylor Swift, obviously. But I am going to throw out a bold prediction. I don't think this beats Bohemian Rhapsody or Oppenheimer, so I'm going to land on $850 million. I think, I don't know. I just like, I know it's Michael Jackson, but I feel like everyone's perception of like a biopic is like insanely stained. Like Amy Winehouse. If an Amy Winehouse biopic was done correctly, that would blow up the box office. Amy Winehouse, Back to Black is one of the greatest albums, period. Not even female-led albums. It is one of the greatest albums, period. Obviously, Michael Jackson has significantly more influence than Amy Winehouse, but I don't know. Like, if an Amy Winehouse biopic is flopping, I can't imagine any biopic really doing well. But again, it's Michael Jackson. But it's Michael Jackson. I could be completely wrong, and I would not be surprised.
The Back to Black film had very little push marketing wise. I didn't see much about it at all.
It played in every single theater before every single movie for like 6 months straight. That trailer.
I didn't get the trailer once here.
I got that trailer every single time I was in the theaters. That trailer,
I didn't get it one
time.
The
TV glow.
I got the trailer a lot, but I did not. This is like a Ghostbusters moment for me where I didn't realize that movie came out. Just like when I was like, "Oh, next week we'll cover Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire," and people are like, "It's been out for 3 weeks." I'm like,
have you seen some of the numbers, like tweet numbers? I know again that doesn't really mean anything, but I think general audience wise, just the Michael Jackson name, and I just like the numbers. I think is just crazy. It's because the first one as well. Like it's such a weird.
I could see it flopping. I could see it blowing up the box office, and I could also see it just being right in the middle.
I can't. I can either see it doing terribly or like amazingly. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like it's
worst. I can see it like the absolute worst case scenario. I would say like 500 million. That's like the worst.
Which would still be like third or second music. Anyway,
this is directed by Antoine Fuqua, who has directed like 28 films that have combined for like 1.4 billion. So. Easily will be his biggest film ever because he's not really ever been a box office guy.
Yeah, he's like a name within film just for the few things that he's made, like a Training Day,
like Training Day, and
Equalizer and whatever.
But
the guilty,
the mid-T,
shout out the guilty.
Don't forget.
But my prediction, and shout out Emancipation. Like man, he makes some interesting
stinkers.
Movies. Yeah, but my prediction, I guess I'll go. What was the actual numbers of the Lionsgate? Because I think my official. I need to pull up the tweet where I like tweeted what the top ones were for Lionsgate of their movies. So pause, but I want to officially get this prediction correct for what I have in my mind. Okay. So I do not think that this will land. I don't think this will be in the top 2. So Lionsgate's top movies, The Hunger Games: Catching Fire is number 1 at 865. Breaking Dawn Part 2 is 829. Then they have a gap to 755 for Mockingjay Part 1. I'm going to predict 800 million is what my prediction is for this, which again, if anyone's going to make me put my foot in my mouth, it's giving Michael Jackson, but I'm predicting it'll make 800 million at the box office is my official prediction for the Michael Jackson biopic. I think his nephew starring as himself is going to be like another thing I'll push more audiences because it's like just a cool thing. Like, the involvement, like whereas like the Bob Marley biopic from this year, which ended up being like the 5th highest grossing musical biopic of all time.
Do well. Okay.
Like 190.
Maybe I should retract my statement. If Bob Marley's only making 109, that's kind of.
But
that's wild.
But I mean, so here's the musical biopics that have come out since the pandemic. We've had the Whitney Houston one that made like 40 million. I Want to Dance with Somebody flopped. Aretha Franklin's biopic I didn't even know existed.
I didn't even know Aretha Franklin had a biopic.
Yep. And then Bob Marley's did well, 190 million. But again, it's like it's crazy because when you look at them ranked, as Bohemian Rhapsody 900 million, and then like 30 different ones like 200 million. Like that just seems
why did Bohemian Rhapsody so well? Like
I really don't know. Like I think it's just,
I know it's pre-COVID, which makes a difference but like comparatively to like Freddie Mercury compared to like Bob Marley, for example, that difference is kind of insane for me. Like, I don't know why Bohemian Rhapsody did that well.
And Elvis, I feel like if an Elvis biopic, I mean, I think he has had movies about him before, but if it came out like 20 years ago, I feel like that could be comparable to like Michael Jackson now, because Elvis obviously was one of like, because I mean, when he did his live concert, it like was more views than like the Super Bowl and like everything. It was like the biggest live streamed event ever, I think. But
Elvis had the Tom Hanks poll as well, which is a thing.
Right. Like, I just think it was just a little too late, because I think most people who are infatuated with Elvis are just like, not really alive anymore.
Whereas Michael Jackson is like, it's just never had anything like a film. I don't think.
Well, yeah, and Michael Jackson was not the same time. He was a little later than Elvis. So
Michael Jackson died in like 2009, so it's like pretty. I think it was 2009, might be earlier or later. I can't remember. But it's pretty, recent-ish, in our minds and whatever.
Yeah,
especially in like our parents and generations. It's that kind of vibe, isn't it? On that note, I am like a minute late, so I do have to go. Hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast. I don't want to hear George moan about M. Night or his daughter. So shout out. But I'll see you guys later.
All right, adios. Yeah, we're going long today, but we won't take too much longer on the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So Robert Downey Jr. revealed he was open-minded to returning as Iron Man.
Dude, he's so full of shit.
I
don't believe it. I think he knows he'll never actually return as Iron Man, so he's just trying to like rile up the crowd and like get weirdos and losers freaking out on Twitter. Like, oh my God, Robert Downey Jr. said he'll return. It's going to happen. It's never going to happen.
I don't think it will ever happen, but I think that's more of a Marvel thing. Like, I don't know. If put him in, but I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like almost people act like he like hates the character of Iron Man more than he actually does. Like, I feel like people thought he's like, oh, he's finally free from the MCU.
No, there's that, regardless of what you think of like the MCU and like, whatever, like that role like revitalized his career
and made him hundreds of millions. Like he was already rich because like his dad was
he's the highest grossing.
Now they have like generational wealth where like his great grandkids won't have to work a day in their life if they don't want to. Like
exactly, like it's insane. It's like I don't know, like he laughs at like jokes made against Marvel, which is fine, everyone does, but like I don't know, you gotta accept where you come from, man.
On that note, Sean Levy says Sean Levy is in early talks to direct the next Avengers movie, but they're still meeting with other directors. But Sean Levy obviously directing Deadpool and Wolverine, also did like Real Steel, also did Free Guy. What would you think about Sean Levy directing an Avengers movie?
I mean, it makes perfect sense. I think anyone that's like, I think everyone watched Multiverse of Madness with Sam Raimi, and everyone was like, okay, the MCU they're on the right track. They're getting filmmakers that like know what they're doing and that will like probably not sign on unless they had some sort of creative freedom. But like this Sean Levy potential, I'm sorry, that was an insane rally. I don't know if you saw that. That was crazy. But like Sean Levy makes sense. Like he's a nothing filmmaker who's only pretty much like he's never officially done like Free Guy. Like Free Guy, you could tell me is in the MCU and I would believe you. He's obviously doing Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, I don't know. It makes sense. Everyone's like so surprised that like Sean Levy is in talks to direct Avengers 5. It makes sense. Like they haven't had the best like reputation of filmmakers outside of like Sam Raimi and like maybe Jon Favreau, if you consider him like not necessarily like an MCU. He's obviously done like
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler, but like for the most part, you're getting like people whose like minds are like just coated with big blockbusters and like slop, respectfully.
Yeah, and like Sean Levy with like Real Steel and Free Guy, like he's obviously very, very capable of directing big blue screen. Not a lot of like live action stuff going on, so it just seems fitting. And then the Avengers movie is supposed to feature 60 movie characters returning to the MCU, and then it's set to be Marvel's biggest productions ever. It's insane, but I mean it's expected. Like because we were talking about it before we were chatting the other day about Fast and Furious and the Bad Boys movies, how they get like bigger and like audiences want more, and all franchises bloat over time. And Avengers at this point is like what they have nothing else up their sleeve other than kind of just making it bigger and crazier than the other ones. But yeah, who knows how they're all going to work? I'm sure. I bet like so if actually 60 characters are coming in, like the movie's max going to be 3 hours. You're obviously not going to be able to do justice to all of them. I bet 20 of them are going to be knocked out in something like The Flash when like Barry goes in the multiverse, just like sees a bunch of people. Like I don't think they're all going to be that much in it, but still crazy. And it's going to be crazy budget. I'm sure it'll make a ton of money. And have you seen the Hostel movie with Eli Roth?
No, I've not.
I think Seth has,
with Eli Roth or
directed by Eli Roth.
No,
but yeah. So I know Seth has. So I was going to see what his thoughts on this were. But a Hostel series in the works, TV series, twisted, crazy, depraved, and Paul Giamatti is going to be starring in it. Eli Roth is set to produce. Didn't say direct, but I don't know. I feel like he'll be attached in some way to it. But yeah, it's should be interesting. A weird role for Paul Giamatti, but we'll see. I'll have to see the Hostel movie first to decide if I'm interested in a series on it. But Peaky Blinders movie is officially happening at Netflix. Cillian Murphy is going to star in it and executive produce. Tom Harper is going to direct. Stephen Knight is writing the script. Filming begins later this year. Have you seen Peaky Blinders?
I have.
I've not. You have?
Come on, man! It's so good. It's. I'm due for a rewatch, admittedly. I was like late to the Peaky Blinders party. I only watched the final season live, I believe. Not live, but like I watched it when it dropped on Netflix. It's fantastic. It's one of my favorites in the top 10. I think it's Cillian Murphy's best performance of his career, which I don't think is crazy to say. He's had so much more time with this character than Oppenheimer, obviously. But yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Do you think there's enough hype there for people to care about a movie? Because I feel like El Camino, which was also Netflix original, didn't build
hype. Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like my quick answer would be like, yeah, like why wouldn't there be hype? It was such a well-received TV show. These are such well-received characters that a lot of people like. Cillian Murphy's obviously coming off of an Oscar, so he's already like a big draw. But then my mind also goes straight to El Camino, which like Breaking Bad is very highly regarded. A lot of people call it one of, if not the greatest show ever. And El Camino kind of like didn't flop. It just wasn't like very well received.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Speaking of Netflix, a Plankton movie is officially releasing in 2025. I added this in there because one, why is a Plankton movie coming out? And two, like when did
SpongeBob Plankton or like a documentary about Plankton?
SpongeBob Plankton, like animated movie. But first thing I thought when I saw that, I was like, I didn't know Netflix got like the rights to the SpongeBob universe, I guess. Yeah. But the Plankton movies coming out, which should be.
I mean, we're just doing shit. We're just doing stupid shit.
We're just doing it.
They're just picking out of they have a hat full of a million ideas. Some of them are dumb. Some of them are normal, and they're just whatever they pick out, they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they behind their back they had Plankton and they had Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron. They're like, pick a hand, left or right. Which one are we making a spin-off movie on? I would have liked to see the Carl Weezer movie a little more,
dude. A Carl Weezer like coming of age film directed by Richard Linklater. Come on now,
dude. I was gonna say Carl Weezer is literally like the first third of the movie Gary, where he just has cats, solders electronics, and learns about psychology. And that's all he wants to do in his life. He's content with that. Carl Weezer. Richard Linklater. I get to work on a Carl Weezer biopic. And then the final piece of news is the Office series is called The Paper, and it's following a Dunder Mifflin documentary crew. They focus on a dying historic Midwestern paper, which sounds to me like the plot of the French Dispatch, the second third of the movie, of a Midwestern newspaper trying to keep it alive. But I don't know. I'm hesitant, but I'm still excited for this. I'm never not going to be excited for it. I know it's probably not going to live up to what I want, but the cast seems like they're kind of hitting all the right beats. It sounds intriguing enough to get me more. I mean, like, it's a very generic plot, but The Office, if you tried to sell someone the story of The Office before you ever saw an episode, you'd be like, this sounds like this dumbest show ever. It's like a paper company and like the relationships between the salesman and the secretary and the manager. Like, why would I want to watch this? And it worked out well, but yeah, we'll see. But that does it for news. We'll kind of circle back now to the Bad Boys Ride or Die. We won't spend too much time on these reviews because we're not, we're definitely different on one we liked more than the other for sure. But one's more of a popcorn movie and the other is a movie we just didn't care for as much. But Bad Boys Ride or Die. First off, shout out Alex Coleman. We're shouting out all our movie friends today, but getting Will Smith to post your shit is so crazy. That's so insane. They just post his full on review on Instagram Reels. Shout out to Alex for that. That's just crazy, awesome. And then we saw Will Smith, surprising theaters showing up, like just a true movie star. Like he's doing all the right things. And we see Bad Boys Ride or Die is doing well at the box office. And how much of that can you attribute to Will Smith doing these small acts? Who knows? But like, regardless, he's an actor. He's a movie star that is doing what he can do on his own rights to make sure a movie is successful. So shout out to him for that. But George, you saw Bad Boys Ride or Die before ever seeing a single Bad Boys, right? So the first one?
Yeah, which was admittedly probably stupid. But I tried to like I said at the beginning of this episode, I was very busy at work this week. I didn't have a lot of time to get a lot of movies like checked off my watch list. So I wasn't able to see 1, 2, or 3 before I saw 4. I don't know if that necessarily like hindered my experience. Like after watching Bad Boys 1 and 2, I didn't feel inclined to like lower or raise my rating of Bad Boys 4. Like it didn't change the way I felt about that film. But regardless, I had a great time with this movie. I really did. I know a lot of people probably saw that like 3 out of 5, and they were very quick to be like, "Oh, you hated the movie." Like Letterboxd brain rot. People think 3 out of 5 is like a negative rating, but for me, a 3 out of 5, it's super average. Like I had a good time with it. I laughed when I needed to laugh. There were some really cool camera work scenes, which we'll get into. There was a really cool scene with Reggie that I really enjoyed. I really did enjoy this movie, but it's probably a movie, and I've even now that I've seen Bad Boys 1 and 2, I think this sentiment kind of stands for all of the Bad Boys movies. These are films I'll never rewatch. I know a lot of people hold Bad Boys 2 very highly. I didn't have that experience or connection with the film. I enjoyed my time with it. I think Bad Boys 2 was great, but I don't know. I feel like if I'm ever in the mood for like a buddy cop movie, I'm going to turn on Rush Hour. If I'm ever in the mood for like a stupid, dumb action movie, I'm going to turn on like Pacific Rim or Transformers. Like there are just other movies that fall into these categories that I'm just more attracted to. But again, that's not necessarily a negative. Like I had a really good time with this movie. I went with one of my friends who's a big Bad Boy fan. So it was fun watching him like react to this movie, and just like we were giggling, we were smiling. It was just, it's fun now that I've seen Bad Boys 1 and 2. It's fun seeing Will Ferrell and Martin Lawrence like continuing these roles. Will
Ferrell would be an awesome casting.
That would be crazy. Will Ferrell and Martin Lawrence going at it. But Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, like they clearly still have a lot of passion for these characters, and it's very evident. So it's just fun watching them make these movies that at face value could seem like maybe a cash grab, but then you watch the movie and you realize like, okay, they were trying something here. Like they have a passion for these movies, whether or not Michael Bay is involved or not. And this isn't really a spoiler, I guess, but awesome cameo from Michael Bay. I really thought that was great. My theater went crazy. I heard half of my theater like smiled, giggled, applauded, and then I heard half my theater whisper like, "Who was that?" And it was just like a funny like mixed reactions. But no, I had a great time in this movie. 3 out of 5. I'll talk very positively about this movie, which might seem like I should give the movie a higher rating, but at the end of the day, it's just like, yeah, there are negatives. There are things I don't like, but like it's a Bad Boys movie. I don't really care to harp on the negative. I'd rather just talk about what I enjoyed, like why I gave this movie a 3 stars as opposed to like a 2.5, like the first one. So yeah, good movie and a very enjoyable theater experience.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way as you in terms of I gave it a 3.5, but like I wanted to give it a 4 the whole time, but like something about it was like, and it's not even like that. I think like a Bad Boys 4th movie doesn't deserve a 4 stars. Just like something about the movie itself is like I didn't have the attachment to give it like a 4 properly, but like I'm way closer to a 4 than I'm a 3. Like you said, I'll talk very highly about this movie. I want to start using like the opening scene when Martin Lawrence is like looking down at the hot dog and his like fat face is right on the screen. I want to start using that as like a reaction to like when you quote tweet something, so it looks like he's like looking down at the tweet you're quoting. Like if it was like a good piece of news, like you're excited for that, be like just Martin Lawrence like looking at an appetizing hot dog. That's gonna be my new reaction tweet. But
you got to do that quickly before someone listening to this pod takes that idea.
True, I got like 18 hours before this goes live, so I'll have to use it. But yeah, I think they've just had such great chemistry together. I know you and Cam don't like Martin Lawrence's performance in these. I think he's good for what he is, but I think he only works.
Not in these. In this one.
This one, Cam.
I like.
Haven't seen three, though, right?
I think I'm with you on Bad Boys 1, where I like Martin Lawrence's character better than Will Ferrell's character. Will, fuck me, man. Well, Jesus, now it's in my head. Where I like Martin Lawrence's character better than Will Smith's in Bad Boys 1. Bad Boys 2, they're interchangeable. I think like Martin Lawrence's character didn't necessarily get better or worse, but Will Smith's character certainly got better in Bad Boys 2. Haven't seen 3. I wasn't gonna say this on the pod, but now it's like we're talking about it. He's just like dead weight in Bad Boys 4. Like I truly feel, and I don't mean to disrespect Bad Boys. If you love this franchise, I'm sorry. You could have made Bad Boys 4 without Martin Lawrence and the movie would have been the exact same. Like he's truly just there, like to crack a joke. Anytime a serious conversation needed to be had, it was Will Smith doing the talking. Anytime a big moment needed to be had, it was Will Smith's moment. So like he was just a little underutilized for my liking. He felt more as like a comic relief character as opposed to like a true like half of a buddy comedy.
Yeah, and I mean, I even think in the first Bad Boys, like he is more of like the comedic guy, which is why I thought he was more interesting. Because I think Will Smith, especially in the first one, they just painted such a cliche like hotshot cop was like just sleeping with a bunch of girls, cool dude, and it's just like he didn't have much range to him. Whereas I feel like in Bad Boys Ride or Die, he's still that way where it's like he's the more serious one, but I feel like it's like you need a Will Smith character to balance out the silliness of Martin Lawrence, because otherwise you're going to go completely kooky comedy if you have two Martin Lawrences, but if you have two Will Smiths, then it's gonna be a lot more serious of a movie that might not be as fun. But I think a lot of the scenes, especially like of this movie, like are definitely more Will Smith scenes for sure. But the direction and cinematography of this was kind of just like the coolest thing ever. Like so many, like Michael Bay didn't direct this, but Michael Bay's fingerprints are like all over this movie with like, because I mean, Ambulance was using drones left and right, and this had drones filming stuff. You have obviously what everyone saw on Twitter with the Will Smith, like directing the camera gimbal with like the pistol attachment, and more than that too. There's just so many cool shots in this movie that I just adored. Like it's just such a fun movie to watch and appreciate from that perspective. But beyond that, it's had so much fun. Like the Miami setting, such a good time too, because it's just like, you know, the sunshine, girls, party atmosphere, like such a great place for like a film like this to take place. I liked Martin Lawrence in this. Will Smith's great as always. Vanessa Hudgens and Alexander Ludwig don't have a lot to do, but I think they're good for what they are. The only person I thought was like kind of all-time bad was Rhea Seehorn, who at this point, because I think a lot of people love her in Better Call Saul, but her like she's the daughter of the chief who gets killed in Bad Boys 3, I believe. And yeah, I don't know, like her, I just didn't care for her performance. She's not in it much, so it didn't ruin much. But like
her character also like, and I haven't seen Bad Boys 3, so I don't know what her character is like in Bad Boys 3 or what her relationship to Will Smith and Martin Lawrence's character is. But like, I did not like the choice that they made to like pin her against them. Like as the daughter of this captain, she should be their number one supporter. Like she knows the relationship that they had with her father. Like she should from the very start be like, no way would they ever do something like this. No way would they whatever set up my father, blah, blah, blah. Like she should have from the start been on their side. It was just a very weird like character choice to make given Will Smith and Martin Lawrence's relationship with her father.
Yeah, I think the writing has never been the great thing of this franchise. I think there's because I thought Will Smith was very cliche in the first one. I think she was just the most cliche, like father gets killed, going to be blind to any reason or logic or anything else, just only care about my father's killer. And it made her for a really like just thin character that didn't add much. And then like even at the very like at the end, we're not going to talk too much spoilers, but I'm just going to throw it on right now anyways. But here, so you gave it a 3-star, I give it a 3.5 star. Yeah. Spoiler starting now. We're not going to talk too much spoilers, but at the very end,
I thought we did talking spoilers.
No, I mean we didn't spoil anything about the movie, and it's a popcorn movie at the end of the day. Like nothing we tell you is going to spoil much. Like spoiler, like spoilers tag is on, but they survived. Both Martin Lawrence and Will Smith survived the movie. But like at the very end when she finally reaches like Will Smith's son and like he just saved her daughter, and it's so apparent, and her daughter's like, "Don't kill him, he just saved me," and she's still so mad at him. It's like I feel like any logical person would be like, "You just saved my daughter, like we're cool now." Like and at that point the conspiracy's unveiled too, so like we know that he didn't even really do that. Like it's just weird like how she was still like so bent on killing him. But I fucking, the main spoiler thing I want to talk about is I loved, which is like probably like a stupid comedy thing, but I thought it was hilarious. The very end with the grill when the son is standing behind them.
That was funny as fuck.
The scene was so sick when he was murdering like all those people. Like he was just going full Marine mode, and the whole movie.
Okay. I've obviously seen the clip from Bad Boys 2 so many times. Even before I saw the movie, I saw like Reggie first knocking on the door and Will Smith and Martin Lawrence coming up and be like, "Who the fuck are you?" And that's obviously been hilarious. I even laughed at it last night when I watched the movie, even though I've seen it a million times. What I didn't realize is that Reggie was like not that big of a character after that scene. Like he was just kind of there. So when his big like mowing down these bad guys in his house scene was happening, obviously I was still reacting. It was still a cool fucking scene to watch this one dude absolutely clip 15 bodies, but everyone was like freaking out. And I was like, why is everyone freaking out? Like, shouldn't it be known that this dude has this in him? Like, like, isn't this well known that Reggie got that dog in him? And then at the end of the movie, my friend that I saw the movie was with was like, yeah, like Reggie's never had that in his bag. Like he's never done that. So that was like a cool little like random like character arc development moment for him. And I was like, all right, that's kind of sick.
Yeah, just saying like Martin Lawrence calls the home. He's like, "Reggie, protect the house." He's robot mode. Just like, and he's like,
and then, but then to like the barbecue scene where Martin Lawrence is like, "That man killed 15 people in that house. He can do whatever he wants on this grill. He can cook all the chicken in the world." I was like,
he just wanted them like permission to cook this chicken, sir. And then he's like, "Hell no, step away. This is our grill." And they just standing there looking like a psycho killer. They're both like he's like, "I'm gonna go make the potato salad, and you're gonna go make the table."
Go set the table.
But the movie's just like littered with so many fun things. Like I'm happy to see this movie doing well because like some reason, and ever since we started the podcast or movie TikTok, like so the past 3 years, I've been seeing movies way more than normal in terms of like going to the theaters like 6 times a month sometimes, or something even more than that. And I haven't felt this about like a summer blockbuster in like a while, and I've probably liked other summer blockbusters more. But something about this movie just feels right. Like if this does well, this just feels like pre-pandemic type of like a Bad Boys 4 movie doing well at the box office, getting people out to see it, people liking it. It just feels like nostalgic of like 5 years ago before movie theaters seemed so dismal and dead and no one's going anymore. So I'm happy to see this movie's doing well. And like for the action filmmaking alone, it's worth seeing. For if you're a fan of the franchise, worth seeing. But kind of cool that it just continues well. I think Will Smith's like bastard son in the movie is a cool character as well. You get 2 alligator kills that are pretty gnarly. But yeah, this movie just kind of doesn't bog you down with too much plot. It's like just and I saw Bad Boys 1 and then 4, and I haven't seen 2 and 3. So it's like all that this movie spoils for people who haven't seen other ones. I'm like, okay, I guess the lead detective dies or the head chief dies. And that Will Smith's bastard son kills him. But I'm guessing that's Bad Boys 3 or something. And then 2, I haven't seen that yet. But yeah, like I really enjoy Bad Boys Ride or Die. Just full on great time in the theater. And yeah, I recommend it to anyone. And I think Carlos just gonna call it now. I think he just won the match with winning that point there. But valiant effort. But shout out Carlos Alcaraz for winning the French Open. Hopefully this doesn't age terribly. Like
chill.
what was it? Cam, during your X-Men episode, was what like I can't remember what game it was. I think it was like a Timberwolves. It was some NBA.
It was
I don't know.
Pacers game. It was an Indiana Pacers game.
But there's some game where it's like I think they just won this game. Like or congratulations to this team for winning the game, and then like they just didn't end up winning that game. But it's just funny because he's like apparently so confident. He's like, I'm just gonna call this over, and it did not happen. But Bad Boys Ride or Die. So you've seen how many of them have you seen now?
3.
Okay, I've seen 2. So we're gonna do our Bad Boys ranking from worst to best. My last place is Bad Boys. My first place is Bad Boys Ride or Die. George.
My last place is Bad Boys. My second place is Bad Boys Ride or Die, and my first place is Bad Boys 2.
So none of us have seen Bad Boys for Life. Did Michael Bay direct the first 2 or the first 3?
Just the first 2.
Okay.
Which I didn't know. I thought I wonder what that decision was for him to give it to someone else.
Transformers, probably. He just kind of became obsessed with the robots.
Yeah. He had more important things. He had to make ambulance instead.
Yeah. But we haven't seen the third one. I know Cam really didn't like the third one at all. But the fourth one's just dripping in sauce. Like I just loved it. In terms of the filmmaking, it's crazy because the fourth movie in a franchise, you can kind of just phone it in, but they did not phone it in terms of the making of it. I haven't seen anything else from these directors. Oh, these are the same director as Bad Boys for Life, which is surprising. And they also directed Miss Marvel. Interesting little filmography because that's literally it. It's pretty much those 2. So interesting. But I thought they kind of crushed it here. But now we'll talk about The Watchers. Again, we won't talk too much about it, but The Watchers is the first film from Ishana Night Shyamalan, the Summer of Shyamalan, as we will have the Trap in 2 months, which George says he's excited for. Put it on the record.
I am. No one believed that tweet. I am excited.
I believe you. I believe you. It's kind of hard to see when you see that trailer in a theater to not get excited for it. I think it's just when you see Josh Hartnett, it's just I'm in. But The Watchers, when 28-year-old artist Mina finds shelter after getting stranded in an expansive untouched forest in Western Ireland, she unknowingly becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers that are watched and stalked by mysterious creatures each night. It's based on a book of the same name. I think for our international listeners, I think The Watchers is only called The Watchers in America. I think it is The Watched in every other country, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, let's get into this because we both did not like this movie whatsoever. And I have a couple friends who saw it without seeing my review, and they did not like it either. And they're not big movie people. So it doesn't seem like it's appealing to a lot of people whatsoever. But George, your thoughts on The Watchers, which you went and saw with Sophie opening night, right?
Yeah, Thursday night, saw it. It's funny when the movie ended. So Sophie looked at me and goes, you could very easily tell when the 2 of us aren't enjoying a movie just by our body language throughout the movie. I was antsy to get out of that theater. I was adjusting myself completely. There were moments where I was just sinking into my seat, half asleep. My hand was on my head. The movie's just. It's a whole lot of nothing. There's one scene which I don't even know if wow, did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he did not just hit that shot. I'm sorry. This is
George and I are watching the French Open, but we're already at the longest podcast episode ever.
Oh my God. I cannot believe he just hit that shot.
Mm-hmm. Shout out, guys.
Jesus, that was insane. Fuck, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't know if we're even going to go into spoilers or not, but there was one scene that I thought was cool, and it was kind of right in the middle of the movie. So I was excited. I was anticipating maybe a very a little momentum shift, a little vibe change. Maybe the back half of the movie would sell me. But yeah, this movie sucks. Dakota Fanning is kind of all-time bad in this. I think she's really lifeless. She's not selling anything. It kind of feels like Ishana Night Shyamalan is a friend of hers and she's doing her a favor and just phoning in a performance. There's so many this movie it's and I've never, obviously I don't know the source material, obviously. I've never, the movie sets up this world, sets up this forest, sets up these characters. They literally explicitly establish rules and just immediately breaks them all. And I don't know if that's just poor writing or poor directing. So I don't even know who to blame. But it's a very I don't even know. I don't know. It's just a very weird sequence of events. Nothing feels rewarding. Nothing feels earned. I don't even care to root for our main characters. I know our good friends at the Looks Like a Movie pod are saying it's not that bad of a movie. I would love to have seen their reaction to this movie without them knowing that the name Shyamalan was attached to it, because I think this would have been half stars all across for them. But yeah, this was just, you asked me to like write like a paragraph what this movie was about. Probably couldn't tell you. Fairies and bullshit and watching, and it's such a dumb movie. It's devoid of intellect. It's devoid of logic. This movie isn't saying anything like profound or insightful. It's just, I'm all for Nepo babies. There are instances where it's cool. Maybe not all the time. Maybe we shouldn't do it. I think, you know, every so often we should just probably back up and say no. But yeah, this was a tough movie to sit through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't enjoy much of this at all. And I think it's tough. You know, the thing with being a Nepo baby is it's going to bring scrutiny your way, which, you know, M. Night's had his share of movies that have been panned critically. So I'm sure he's, and because this isn't just us, like this movie's not getting great reviews in general. So I'm sure he's being a great dad because he's and coaching her through, you know, because it's tough. She's a young director. This is her first film. You know, not doing the greatest with reviews. So I'm sure he's helping her get through that side of filmmaking, but I'll still see whatever she does in the future. But the thing is, with the name Shyamalan, I think people who hate Shyamalan are going to go into this and probably on average, maybe rate it like a half star, 1 star lower. And I think flip side, if you're a big fan of Shyamalan, I think it's going to be a half star and 1 star higher. And I think it's just like a subconscious thing that's just kind of unavoidable. It's like, that's what kind of happens when it's a Shyamalan, like, you know, Coppola had to deal with that when she started directing, especially because The Godfather Part 3, everyone hated her performance in it. So then jumping into directing with the name Coppola behind you is such a tough thing to go about. So it's tough to navigate being a name that people know. Whereas like Nick Cage is obviously a Coppola, but changed his last name. But that's almost like the most fraud version of Nepo baby, because he changed his last name. People wouldn't know. People don't know he's like part of the Coppola family tree unless they like look it up. But every audition he's in, the casting directors are going to know like, oh, that's Coppola's nephew. So it's like, I think that's almost like the most fraud Nepo baby, because it's like in public,
he's not admitting it.
They're like, I'm not using my name, but in every casting call ever, they know who he is. So, but yeah, so so there's about 4 minutes of this movie that happens before the title card hits. And I hated that first 4 minutes so much, where it was initially Daniel, the character that goes into the woods, and you initially see these creatures that come and this fantasy land of a forest where it's once you get in, there's really no escape. And once night comes, dark things start happening. And the entire way it was shot, and the entire idea behind the scene of, which is a very tropey way to start a lot of films, like especially thrillers and horrors, where it's like, the first thing we're going to show you is this happening to someone else. And we're going to show you that for a few minutes. And then the title card is going to hit. And then boom, we're going to go to like a normal, quaint life of a person who's innocent, nothing's happening to them. And this is basically what their fate's going to ultimately end up being. They're going to join this, what we already saw foreshadowed, which, like, you know, it's kind of done in like a beginning of Get Out, I guess, with like Lakeith Stanfield's character, but it doesn't show like as much. And I don't know, I think it's done better with Jordan Peele's without just revealing it so much, which is one of my biggest critiques about this film and the story, is that there's so much exposition, and like this movie is just so spoon fed to you that you know exactly what's going to happen. And the plot twist is like so damn obvious. Like, it's not even a joke, like how stupidly obvious it is.
You knew the entire time. You knew one of them. It's just,
and you could tell which one it would be too.
Like, your throat. It's like another film this year, just disgustingly predictable challengers. This one might be even worse.
But speaking of another film this year that you didn't like, Immaculate, when you said there's so many cheap jump scares, I'm surprised you didn't talk about it with this, because this is like
this one,
first day of preschool jump scare where it's like a crow flying at the screen. I'm like, when I see shit, like, I get so mad, because I'm like, what artistic value does that have to have a crow just fly the screen squawking? And it's like, I'm gonna jump. There's no way you can't jump at that shit, and it's like so stupid. But there's so many more than just that too. It was like first day of kindergarten filmmaking jump scares in this, which I don't mind much. Like, I don't care if there's cheap jump scares, but I know a lot of people do. So I'm just saying, like, if you're someone who gets annoyed with cheap jump scares, like, there's probably 4 or 5 in this movie that I jumped at that I was like, that was just so stupid and choreographed, but whatever.
Can we pause quickly for a championship point?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Let me talk tennis real quick.
Yeah, live commentate it.
All right, Carlos Alcaraz serving 40-15, 5-2 up in the 5th set. Serves out wide to Zverev's backhand fault. Zverev standing pretty far behind the baseline, which is an interesting decision to make when you're that tall. Carlos served to the body. Zverev backhand cross court. Carlos forehand cross court. Zverev dumps it in the net, and Carlos Alcaraz is a 3-time Grand Slam champion at the age of 21, which makes me feel disgustingly inadequate. This man is one Australian Open title away from a career Grand Slam at the age of 21.
Mm-hmm.
That's
insane.
So gross. That's
I was talking about in the
disgusting.
Discord about tennis the other day. I was like, because I was talking about Swiatek, and I was like, they need to just pause women's tennis indefinitely until there's a worthy competitor, because she's on pace to like be the greatest of all time by like age 25 at this point. Whereas like obviously like Carlos has a crazy career at 21, but they have the Federers, the Djokovic's, the Nadals of the world that are just so far ahead that like it's going to take a long time to get to the GOAT status. But I think in women's, like Swiatek, I think will be like the greatest to ever play by like 25, which is insane. So they need to.
Carlos is on that same trajectory. I mean, this kid is insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but shout out him. But back to the watchers. That first opening scene before the title card hit, I hated so much. And then the thing is, like, so even like Hitman's a good example where like the characters you're kind of rooting for them, but they're not like good people necessarily. And that's kind of the same way with Dakota Fanning. Like she has like, things in her past that like, relationships she's kind of cut off that, she hasn't done the best things with her relationships in her life. But that doesn't mean you aren't going to root for someone, because like we root for protagonists all the time that might necessarily have reasons you don't want to root for them. But beyond that, like I just didn't care about anything that happened to her for reasons, not just what she's done in her past, just like her character was so uninteresting and just had nothing to ever make me care about her or any of the other people in the coop, I believe it was called, the nest.
It's not even like caring about these, which I didn't. Let me make that very clear. I did not give a fuck about any character on screen. But like another horror movie trope is like, why does every main character have to have a dark past? Like there's just like, and if you're going to do it that way, at least make it somewhat interesting. At least give me something. It also like, it doesn't come back. Like nothing that happens in present day is reflective of like what happened to her in her past. Nothing that happens in present day is like her growing up from what happened in her past. Like, yes, the final, and I'm spoiling the movie, I don't give a fuck. The final like sequence, like she's with her sister again, and she's playing with her sister's son, her nephew, and her niece. But it's like, why did they reconnect? Nothing in the movie would make me believe that like they would reconnect. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's very bad writing and bad movie.
Yeah. I mean, the themes are clearly going for is like, there's people in this world that are dealing with like, mental health, depression, failures, shortcomings in their life. And that they hold on to that and it makes them, kind of disconnect from society. And like, obviously you see Mina, she's living alone. She has like a bird and she just goes off into the wilderness and she kind of she changes her personalities when she goes out in public. So again, another Hitman parallel. She throws on a wig and goes out in public, but she clearly doesn't really, and she doesn't answer her calls from her sister. And she has a traumatic past, and we're in spoiler mode now where, her mother dies in a car crash, and her sister gets pretty injured, and it's kind of her fault. She's like cramming the window on her sister's fingers. Her mom's like, what the hell are you doing? And then her mom dies, and then her sister's injured, and then she kind of feels that guilt and trauma from that and doesn't reconnect with her sister. And then you kind of have the whole unveiling of the Watchers at the very end of being like these half fairy, half fae, half person. Well, there's halflings and then there's full on fairies. So it's a very much fantasy movie. But
that's the one scene that like I was like, wow, okay, that was cool. That's the scene where Dakota Fanning and the older woman are like hiding under a tree because they get locked out, and you see all of them standing up.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. That was the one part where I was like, okay, maybe like the movie, a little tone shift. Maybe now we're going full, like, maybe they stay in the forest and the rest of the movie is them being chased by these. And I could see that being good, but like, no, they just stand up, run away, and we're right back inside the bunker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think all the visual effects and everything related to this movie I thought were cool. I thought the creature designs were interesting. I thought the cost, like I feel like the movie looked like a well done movie in terms of like the everything on screen, but I didn't think like the direction or cinematography is anything special. But I mean, like the sets, costumes, creatures, visual effects, the makeup of the people when they're transforming, I thought it was all pretty cool. But yeah, I kind of get what they're going for, like with the halflings being like half hate, because like there's basically the movie is obviously a very fantasy movie in terms of like it's, you know, these creatures are come out at night and watch you, and like this, like it's obviously a very far-fetched weird fantasy movie, but the final act of the movie is really when it gets unveils the lore of this fantasy, where it's like this war between fairies and humans, and then they kind of got banished, and you have these like half watcher hybrids called halflings, who are like half human, half watcher, and it's kind of like the watchers are very hateful of humans because of like the war and killing them and pushing them away, and then you have like these half watchers who are like half human, half watcher, and they're like, you know, there's anger towards humans, but Mina and kind of reconciles with her watcher, who's Madeline, I believe the name is, and kind of becomes like the end of the movie just kind of becomes like a little redhead girl who kind of watches over Mina for the rest of her life. But kind of like it's ultimately Mina getting her to tell the watcher to stop holding on to all that anger towards humans, then lets Mina be like, okay, I'm going to let go of the anger I have towards my sister. Not even anger, but the anger towards her own self and the hatred she has of her own self. And she's currently hiding in the wilderness, or she's secluding herself from society, changing her appearance when she goes out. She clearly like hates who she is. And she kind of gets over that by the end of the movie and reconciles with her sister. I thought there was going to be a twist where her sister didn't exist, because I thought, and it was obviously like an identical twin, like it's basically like two Dakota Fannings, which I thought she wasn't going to exist, because like when the first she hears like the voicemail from her sister, it sounded just like Dakota Fanning. And I was like, oh, is it just going to be like actually her talking to herself? And she's some weird, like messed up in the head type thing where she's like, thinks she has a sister, but it's really just her own self. And it's a different personality of who she wants to be or something. That's why she changes her appearance. But that's not the direction it went down. Yeah, I thought, I didn't think Dakota Fanning was bad in this. I thought she was fine, but I think it might be because I just thought everyone else was really bad. Like Georgina Campbell, I really liked her in Barbarian. She wasn't bad, but she was just there. I really didn't like Daniel's character, Oliver Finnegan. I really hated him.
Knock off Barry Keoghan, man. Like, what are we doing?
That's such a good comparison.
My God, I can't take credit for that comparison. I saw a Letterboxd review of it, but I was like,
fair.
that's the perfect comparison. Like, literally just a knock off Barry Keoghan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he was just like all time really, really bad in this. The professor I didn't care about, and same with his wife. I didn't care about their performances. And like the wife, it was so obvious she was like pulling the strings.
The second they find like the underground bunker, 20 minutes of exposition just shoved down our throats.
Yeah, we have to watch 3 years of like diary logs.
Yeah, like what are we doing?
Yeah, it's just, and that's why I hate thrillers are probably my favorite genre, but I hate bad thrillers, because once you give me a premise, I need to know how it plays out. I need to know the twist or what happens or the resolution. So I'm like going to be locked in and like need to know how it ends. So that's why it pisses me off when it's like a bad one, because I'm like, I hated every moment of this movie pretty much. Like I didn't care about Dakota Fanning. I was so bored when they're in that freaking Watcher globe. I was like, just do something already. Just break out of here. Like, you're just going to stand in this little thing and be watched your whole life. Loved the Love Island bit. Shout out K-Meeks for big fans of Love Island. But how they're just like watching this and using that to pass the time. And obviously that's a huge theme of this movie as well. Like with Watchers, and there's Watchers watching humans, trying to imitate them and become them. And while these humans are watching Love Island spoof, which we watch as these perfect looking specimens, beautiful people that look like, it's like, man, I wish I could have chiseled abs and be like tanned and look awesome like that. And it's just kind of, you're always kind of like watching these other things while looking for the worst parts of yourself and trying to fill that by watching other people and hoping you could be like them in some sort of way. But yeah, there's just really nothing here I really liked other than like the VFX and the creature designs. I didn't think Eli Aronson's cinematography was anything interesting. I don't know what other films he's done, but I'm going to go check that out. You're the cinematographer guy.
Yeah.
Eli Aronson. He's done Lamb, and that's basically it in terms of like actual notable movies. But I haven't seen that one, A24 film, but yeah, again, I thought the story was really stupid. I thought the whole, like, I get what they're going for with the whole letting go of your grief and letting go of your anger towards yourself and getting over that and coming to terms with it. But I thought it was just really dumb. Like, maybe I'm just not a fan of high fantasy, but didn't care for it. Didn't like the resolution, which kind of made the whole movie just feel meh. But again, I hated this from the beginning. Like right when I saw that first opening scene of Daniel in the woods before the title card hits, I was like, I'm so out on this movie already. And then we kind of just get Dakota Fanning. I mean, sure, it was a little funny with the bird kept saying like try not to die, but yeah, 1 star for me. I did not like this. I really couldn't wait for this to be done. I was looking at my watch a lot during this movie. I really wanted to get out of that theater because I was just so bored by it. And then when the resolution hit, I was like, that was just not worth sitting through. And the whole bunker, like you said, the bunker was the worst part. Like, holy shit, just the most spoon feeding exposition for like fucking 15 minutes of just watching this dude's video log. Just like, to give us some intrigue and mystery. Don't just like spoon feed us the movie where like it's so obvious the whole time what's going on. And yeah, maybe if there's better actors, I'd be more interested. But Daniel is like kind of like the main like off kilter guy, and I just fucking hated his character so much. But yeah, you gave it a half star, 1 star, 1 star,
one.
Yes, yeah, we'll give it a 1 star. I am calling it right now. Trap is gonna be better than this movie.
I fucking hope.
I hope it's at least 3 times better. Ideally 4 times or 5 times better in terms of 4 or 5. But yeah, we'll see what she does next. But the Shyamalan clan is coming because we got M. Night obviously is the leader, but we have his daughter in Trap, who's also a pop star, and then we have Ishana, who's going to be surely directing more stuff. So yeah, we'll see where their career goes from there. But we'll kind of wrap up our episode there. I believe this has how long was your X-Men episode? Was that that was like under 3.5 hours. This is the longest episode.
Yeah, this is definitely our longest episode.
A freaking marathon of an episode. We have people dropping like flies, Cam and then Seth, and now it's me and George is the last 2 standing. But that's why it's this stupid release schedule. Last week you guys had to come up with your own topics because there's no movies coming out. Now it's like they're just gonna throw 3 movies at us in 1 week. So yeah, there's all of our. We had drafted baby name for Cam. We did Hitman review, Linklater's filmography, Bad Boys ranking. The franchise ranking was probably the highlight of this episode. The Bad Boys franchise ranking, Watchers review, trailers and news. Actually, we didn't even talk trailers, but we're not going to talk them. We have the Venom, The Last Dance. The Venom horse looks freaking awesome. And just looks like a fun film. I'm so in for Venom, man. But that's ReelTok episode 9.
Are you Venom or Vem out?
No, it's Venom or Venom.
Oh, Venom or Voutum.
But I'm Venom for sure, even though I hated Let There Be Carnage, even though who was it? Super. Is it Paul Thomas Anderson? I think that's like the famous quote.
Yeah, he's like, I like the Venom movies.
So shout out to him. He's just like me for real. But on Thursday, we're gonna have a draft of our favorite movie quotes, which I don't know when we're gonna film that, but we'll film that before Thursday. Draft our favorite movie quotes, and then on Friday for patrons, we'll do our review of City of God. So become a patron if you haven't already, because we are going to shout out now our executive producers, Stefan Johnson, Sean Morales, and Stefan Niebrick. But with that, episode 92 in the books, longest episode of ReelTok in ReelTok history. We will see when we officially break this eventually. But for right now, 335 is going to be the mark to beat. With that, have a great rest of your Monday. Peace.